ancient.
Brought to you by Miniature Building Authority.
Exactly. Hey,
Harbor Town.
I'm gonna play on Harbor Town's new stuff at Gen Con.
Harbor Town is an all-new series from Miniature Building Authority, the leader in tabletop gaming scene.
And it's just in time
Unique,
for the whole
flexible and playable. Harbor Town will take your games
stuff.
to it.
Yeah, absolutely. It's beautiful.
Very well.
It's beautiful. I'm getting a lot of it. You know that I went to Kickstarter. I'm excited. Super excited.
It'd actually be really cool if you were like recreating Nulb from the Temple of Elemental Evil.
Oh yeah, because there's waterway right there to Nulb.
But also if you went and played the computer game, what they did with Nulb is everything's up on stilts essentially. Boardwalks to all the buildings. It's really cool. They took a little artistic license because basically Nulb is just a partial town, and they say develop the rest of it. So they did, and it was an interesting take on it. But that miniature building stuff would work perfect for that.
I never got that far, but in that game, I know because it was a lot of it was based on what alignment you played, was the direction you went.
There was some deep technical issues with that game, and the only reason I got as far as I did before it
that may be too loud. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it crapped out on me, and the only reason is because the Circle of 8 modder group had done a whole heck of a lot of fixes, but the reality is you can't fix the base engine because it's so badly designed.
It's a shame because that's like a lot of people's favorite module of all time,
And they did a really beautiful job with the sound design and the images that they were using for it, and it was very faithful, as much as it could be to the module that was published. And it just, unfortunately, Activision deactivated.
You heard Baldur's Gate 3, right? You heard about that, right?
Yeah, I don't know what to think about that yet. I mean, I've heard that it's coming. I really don't know much about the people that are producing it, and will it tie into the old BioWare stuff?
Right.
I don't know. I'm pretty sure that Boo is, Minsk and Boo will be in there. They've been hyping the heck out of that pair, especially on the live broadcast they did a couple weeks ago. They actually had they have a comic with those characters in it.
Oh, really?
Oh yeah, there's D&D comics. I really haven't been reading them. There's all kinds of stuff that they tied in with.
Did not know that, man.
Yeah. Oh yeah, they have been working hard with their third-party people to get stuff out there. So, good on Wizards of the Coast. They've been doing a lot of synergy, and I think the reason they've been able to do that has been the slower release schedule means that they have time to work with their partners to develop all that stuff ahead of time.
That's so cool. You just, once again, Brian, you always know something. I have no clue what's going on with that, and that's pretty awesome.
Yeah. Well, but you're playing in a different world where all your stuff is pretty much published unless it's something from the OSR community, and so you're not having to stay in the loop, so to speak, on that. And it's just interesting to me to see how much they've changed their ways in terms of how they produce the game, how what they're integrating with. I mean, I know a lot of people get upset about the Beatles and Grimm stuff, which is like a bunch of props and really nice stuff, but it's expensive and it's aimed at a very specific market. I mean, they only make their Platinum series. They only make 1,000 copies of it, and it's done. And it's aimed at those people with a lot of spending cash. And there are a group of us players, have made a lot of money in their lives, and they can afford that stuff. It's not aimed at people like me who have to think about what they're going to purchase. And I'm totally fine with that. I don't need it to play D&D. I don't feel left out. And I can make my own props if I need to. So it's just an interesting world we live in, and
absolutely, man, absolutely.
I mean, did you see the live action D&D cartoon car commercial from Europe?
Yes, I did in Brazil.
Yeah, or was it Brazil?
Yeah,
okay. I think it was Brazil. Yeah.
Okay, I heard Portuguese, and
yeah.
Okay, Brazil makes so much more sense. Cool. So. Yeah. I mean, it's just it's
getting it's getting very exciting. I think I've Wednesday night I'm going to talk about how I actually started in with the community and streaming and stuff, and then how it's all basically it's all Mike Greyhawk Mike's fault. So
exactly, we're going to interrogate Jake.
Yeah, on Legends and Lore.
Yep.
So it's going to be interesting.
Unfortunately, your opening episode, I might be delving into my Arkham horror game.
Oh, it's okay, man.
So I might have to catch that on a rerun, unfortunately.
It's all right.
I'm a little bummed.
Yeah, no worries.
You can always, that's what the reruns are for, though.
Yeah. Yep. Well, it's one of those things where like one of our players she got a new job. She's the head chef, and it's a place that just opened. So like her schedule, it's like I was like expecting another week or two where we were just not gonna be able to play. And I got a email out of the blue like saying, "Hey, are you guys available Wednesday?" I'm like, It's the only day I'm gonna get. So such is life.
Hey man, it's cool. It's all good. It's all good, definitely.
No, but I try to be where I can be. I'm so glad I fixed that freaking problem with Twitch.
Yeah, dude, that's exciting. That's exciting. Absolutely.
Yeah. I'll do a PSA on that so that people don't follow the same crap I do.
Look at that. We got Wicked on. We got Will on. We got Baboonski on. We got a lot of good guys on tonight, guys and gals tonight. That's awesome.
Oh, I should probably put up a Twitch screen.
That's exactly what I realized I should, because.
Me too.
Oh, God. And it's going to do the very thing I've talked about. Level authentication.
Yeah, there we go.
All right, we're going to come on a minute early. It's 7:29, but let's hit this running. We got a massive crowd coming on already. So hey, we're missing one of our guests, but who knows? Maybe he may be making pastries, right, Tim? As far as with Marco, Mark's a chef. Mark's a pastry chef in the spare time. See, something else you didn't know there, Anna, about Marco.
A man of many talents.
Yes, but we will see Marco later tonight if he's on or not. That's a little hint. So, welcome everyone. I'm Jay, also known as Lord Gazumba. I got 3 great guests now. Maybe a 4th will be on. But let's start with welcoming and introductions. Let's go with, all right, look at that. See, just as I was talking.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Tim, say hello.
Hello.
Do you want me to speak before you go?
Because somebody needs to speak up for these dark elves. Those poor guys that are so put down.
Yes, and Tim's the one to do that because Tim really put me through the ringer with a dark elf in the. Mark must be having some issues. Put me through the ringer with a dark elf going way back, and I know he's going to want to discuss that. So, like I said, Tim was my first ever real good DM when I was a player. So, Brian, welcome back. Time number 3. Yeah. Thanks a lot, man. Say hello.
So
what do you got
2
going
more episodes and I get the jacket, right?
Yeah. Maybe. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So what's going on, Brian?
Just been working hard. I've been reading through the Ghost of Saltmarsh because I think I'm going to run that first, and that'll give me some time for building out my Harvey stuff because I actually just want to start playing and DMing, I should say. I already play in another person's homebrew world right now every 2 weeks, every other week. And beyond that, I played a little bit of Netrunner. I've been, it's just gaming here and there where I can. Yeah, and I love Arkham Horror, the card game, so I've been playing that a lot. So that's pretty much where I'm at.
Good to hear.
I need to get back into the heraldry because I got some stuff to finish up for you, and I actually need to talk to Carlos because I know he wants me to do some stuff.
Excellent.
I know Anna wants me to do some stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, absolutely. And look, your heraldry's right in the smack dab in the middle of the broadcast.
Yep.
It's on my logo. And come on, Brian. Oh, you know what? I gotta send you one. Hold on.
Oh no.
It's on our Lord Gazumba mouse pad.
That's awesome.
It's even. I got something even more hokey coming to me. I'll wait till Thursday night, but needless to say, there'll be a logo here on a shirt shortly. Yes, I actually have embroidered polo shirts coming too. They're for Gen Con. They're for Gen Con though, for the most part. As I'm going to be out there, so that people know who I am. So.
Yeah,
yes.
You'll need to get a tie done as well.
With the logo all over it.
For when you dress up.
Yeah. But and like I said, Brian, it's all because of your heraldry. So thank you so very much. And it's my pleasure, man. Absolutely.
Hey, is there a way to pop out the chat from Twitch so I can just have it as a sidebar?
There is a way. The little cogwheel.
What's up, Mark?
Good evening.
Look at this. We got a 4-banger here tonight. Whoops, I shouldn't have said that.
Again, Anna, how do you do it?
I don't know. That's why I got multiple screens up, and I just
there it is. Okay,
yeah.
So at the bottom of the chat window, there's a sprocket. If you click that, at the very bottom of the drop-down list that pops up, there's a thing called Pop Out, and then boom. There we go.
Guess what? As this is going,
now I'm cooking with fire.
I do have thunderstorms coming through.
Crisco, but yeah, you're right.
Well, yeah, we do have thunderstorms coming through. Hopefully, I won't have any disasters, but
awesome.
We should be good. Did we already lose connectivity once? It was close, wasn't it?
No, I don't think so. I hope not.
I didn't notice anything.
Yeah,
but then I
just jumped on board. Everybody was still good, and then you crapped out for a second.
Yeah.
So it's just Jay then. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. All right. Well, let's hope we didn't DC there. So let's get some things on the because my it is super dark here. Just note that I'm not sure. Tim, is it near you too?
My son came running in.
Okay.
And was like, "It's getting dark. There's thunder." So.
All right. Let's hope we hold on here because it is really it's really dark here, but let's hope we hold. So
it's kind of apropos for the whole topic of the drow.
Yeah, absolutely.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Tim gotten it. I'm still in sunny California here, so I forgot to take my shutters and then kind of. Tim got the message here. He got it.
Well, no, actually, and I think it's because you deep down know that you are scared of them. Then you want that light.
Exactly. I'm terrified of them. So yeah. Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, hopefully this catches up because it doesn't appear that my my Streamlabs is connecting and working either. So kind of weird stuff going on. I was trying to update our follower list and oh well, it's updated. So thank you all for hopping on tonight. This is a crazy topic. Dark Elves, not crazy, but it's just it's all over the place with what people have on their thoughts on this, and that's why we wanted to tackle this. This goes back a couple weeks when we were talking about fighters, and then Carlos Lacey came out of the blue and said how much he hated Dark Elves, and I'm thinking to myself, man, this would be a good topic for discussion. He won't allow them at all as a player character, period. Not at all. So for us.
That sounds like formative experience. Yeah, something bad happened.
Yeah, but for us, it's every day, and I send everyone our notes, and if I missed any of our PCs, I'm sorry, but it just looks like a lot, but it's not really a lot over hundreds and hundreds of characters.
Well, the way Carlos feels about Drow, I feel about Kender. So we all have our traumas.
Yes, absolutely. So, Mark, I know you hopped on a minute or two late there. So let's start off with you. Sure. Experience-wise, when you were young, man, what's your first memory? I think I know what it is. Oh, by the way, I'm sorry. Go, and then I'll say what I was going to say.
I was going to say probably my very first experience is Tim torturing the daylights out of us with a Tarova.
That's exactly mine too.
So
that's exactly mine too. A Tarova. Yes, a Tarova and Black Wolf.
Yep.
And what class? Was she a mage assassin or was she a mage thief?
I thought she was a cleric assassin.
He was a cleric, either a cleric or cleric assassin. I actually can't even remember. I think cleric thief.
Was this a homebrew? Was it a homebrew villain?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And and her sidekick was a barbarian.
Yeah, human barbarian Black Wolf.
Yeah. Right out of when 1983, right out of the freaking Arcana. Let's throw everything that's in an Arcana out. You know what I mean? Barbarian and the Dark Elf. So.
And if actually. She was part of the same, one time we ran crew of evil characters. We all made evil characters. She was mine.
That's true.
Both of them were, he was actually chaotic neutral. He wasn't even evil. But it seems the same. But, the same as Gru and Buzz Tillman. You remember him?
Yeah.
Mark?
Yeah, that was those were the days back in high school, and she did some awful things, especially in G1.
I aged them. Then I aged them 200 years.
Yeah, 200 years.
They flowered.
Yeah, they were extremely nasty, and she did a lot of awful things to Andros Philandros. The gnome got it. I got my eye on you, and she nailed his eyeball to a wall. Yeah, with notes on it. Really crazy. See, I told you, Anna, he's nuts. So
in this at its best.
He cut off the gnome's hand and nailed it to the wall with one finger, and also to send some sign language.
So I got stuff running all over the screen here. Let me explain it real quick. Upper right is pictures from modules, pictures from the monster manuals, a couple pictures from Pinterest showing. Of course, I had to put one picture of Drizzt up. I apologize. I got a picture of a cloud drive, just pictures that from memories and stuff. Below this, I don't know where I found this, Brian, but this is all the heraldry of the 8 houses of Earl High Sinlu out of D3, and all the merchant guilds. So that's a pretty cool setup of all the running, logos. Because if you've ever run D3, you go, oh, you got a brooch, you got a house brooch, House Everhate brooch, or you got House Tormtor brooch. You didn't know what it looked like. I wish I knew who.
They described them, but you didn't have a visual.
That's what that is. Yeah, this is a visual of all of them, and I don't know where I found it, but it was on my hard drive, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is perfect.
As a young person, it was the first time I saw the word lozenge.
Oh yeah, basically a diamond shape. Yeah. Well, I'll say this is that you can actually do a reverse image lookup, and if they're still out there, you might be able to discover who originally did them.
Okay.
But if they're really, really old, who knows?
That's the thing. I don't even know where I got them from. That's it. I was just searching through my stuff for this show, and I had never even shown them to any of my players. I know I haven't. Right, Mark? You've never seen them?
Not at all.
No, and so I don't know where I got them from. But hey, they fit for tonight. And then to the left are all the modules that have Dark Elves in published sources and some reference materials, just to give us.
I don't think those are from the Dungeon or Dragon articles on the city, because I know I would have remembered artwork like that. So
yeah, it's crazy. Maybe if Sprocketeer was on, he'd be doing searches all over creation to try and figure out for us. But maybe we'll find that out. So I want to put something up, and this is where we're going to start. And this is the evolution of the Dark Elf, and then we'll get into some controversy here.
Well, I thought we were going to talk about all of our experiences.
Yeah, we're going to talk about. You want to do that? Sure.
Yeah, let's just do like a quick intro.
Absolutely,
what was
go for it. Go for it, Brian.
Right. So for me, it's kind of a tie between the Giant series and the Fiend Folio, because that's really the two main sources that start that for us. At least when I was playing as a young man.
I'm ready. I'm prepared.
There you go. And I just remember my fondest memory of that is the party that I was running through G3 finally sees the drow for the first time. They watch them. They're hidden. They're watching them do the temple ceremony, and then the drow leave, and they're like, "Well, let's go see what that's about." And then they do the ceremony, and they all got bonuses from it, and they were super happy with that. And so they got greedy, and they said, "Let's do it again." And
you mean in the Temple of the Elder Elemental God?
Yeah.
Oh no, that drives you immediately insane.
No, the first it takes your major magic items. So they lost a Frostbrand, Hammer of Thunderbolts, and a Flame Tongue. And I literally had to run from our beach house because all the players wanted to kill me.
That's a great one. That's all. Yeah, but that's the first sighting of a Calavra.
Yeah.
It's right here, right in here.
Yeah, and that bloody wall of tentacles that shreds.
It's right behind. See it?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes. And that's a discrepancy to something else I want to talk about in another adventure. But what about you, Anna?
Well, since I rarely run modules the way they were thought, but intended to be run, but I use them for background material. So I think in the beginning I didn't use drow much, but I remember we had one encounter where the characters were on their way down to the Pomarsh for some reason. This is early on, before the wars era and all that, so to speak, and there was a lot of elves. So I simply assumed that the drow did their raids on elves and others. So they had like a secret little base in the Sus Forest, and there were some drows that did some raiding into Selene and some other areas simply because they were so antagonistic that way, and they did it. So that was the first time I've used them, but that was basically like some random encounters. So they were kind of a cool, scary version of highway robbers. And I remember there was almost a TPK the first time, so I realized, damn, these monsters are tough. So that was, I kind of hesitated, but I used them a few times, and then they were kind of involved a little bit with some other nasties here and there because they had their tentacles here and there, so to speak. So that was the first couple of years. But then I realized this is really, really cool, and I remember I started reading and realized these monsters are super, super cool, and I needed, so I created an Underdark campaign. So I took the Underdark from Lolth and all that, and made my own spin on it, so to speak. And that was one of the things that I planned for like 9 months, and then we played during a week in the summer. We sat in a basement, and my mother and parents, they wonder, what the hell are you doing? It's in the middle of Swedish summer, there are a few weeks there's sunshine, and we were sitting in the basement for like 5 days straight and didn't see sun whatsoever and just played. And that was one of the campaigns that was really good, and that was full of drow, of all sorts, and demons and spiders.
Full of them.
Yeah, exactly. We had tons and tons of them. So then they were the main antagonist and Lolth and spider demons and all sorts of crap that I invented surrounding it, so to speak. But it was a good campaign. But then I think both me and everybody involved felt like now we have enough of drow. So they never become a major antagonist afterwards, so to speak. Not really. So they have been a very obscure part of my gaming since then.
Yeah, but you know, there's still got a place in your heart, especially with.
Oh, definitely. They're awesome, and I think one of the reasons I love drow so much to use. First of all, I like elves, and here you have the evil twins of elves, so they are. I really like them for that reason. The other thing I really like them for is that they are one of the what I feel like genuinely fantasy creatures and races that belong in a fantasy world that Tolkien didn't invent.
That's a good point.
To me, they feel as natural in a fantasy world as orcs or hobbits and elves and a lot of the other stuff that Tolkien invented. Here we have another, I think, iconic presence in the fantasy world that feel to me as real as goblins or orcs and dragons and whatnot. It feels like drow should be there, and it was something that kind of an full cool add-on to Tolkien's universe. So
it's a great point. It's a great point.
So I think those are the main reasons that I really my campaigns they need drow from time to time.
Now, Tim, I put this. I put this wording up. This is right out of the Monster Manual 1, right? The original old school Monster Manual. The Drow are only legend. And then, it's like, wow, I guess I may see one once in a lifetime, right? So I just wanted to put that up there. That's the first. Tim, since you and I go back with Mark a long, long way, what do you remember first? Was it the G series? Was it the A series?
It was actually the D123, I think.
All right, so Descent right here. Okay.
I was reading, so I was just really looking into those, and that's when you read D3, you're just like, it was like a mind grenade, and it was like, this is a horrible, horrible group of culture, group of people. I mean, it's like, humans run the gamut all around, whatever, and the race generally tend towards, but this is like, they're set up to be the most vilest, hideous, evil things you could even imagine,
Yeah.
And
if you read in depth,
that was the big shock, I mean, I guess I was also.
We were young.
I was pretty young, so I didn't know how bad humans really are yet.
Yeah, well, when you're young and you read the spot here on Arelhai Sinlu, it is a little disturbing.
They rub shoulders with go ahead, read it.
Yeah, well, there's Arelhai Sinlu, and that's the real original Drow city. But we won't go into arguments on this. But it's kind of nasty. It is. But it's not offensive. It's a bad place.
Built into the whole culture is slaves. You're always running into runaway slaves or slave caravans or slaves. So,
But the slave stuff was always present in Greyhawk. It's just that in the central portion, you just didn't run into it all that much unless you were playing in the Slaver series.
You run into the
right. But in the Great Kingdom, slaves are part of that place, but you didn't really have something until second edition. And you certainly, your life was not worth much if you were in the lands of Ayuz or the Horn Society, if you weren't on the top of the food chain. So, I mean, there were all these things out there, but I think for us, when we saw the G series and then the D series, this is the first time something like where a really major enemy population was mapped out for us. And we went, oh, like you said, the mind grenade, like, oh, this is a thing. And
I also, Brian, I think you have a great point, and one I want to kind of expand just a little bit about it, because Drow to me is when you start reading, and we have to go into Forgotten Realms, just mentioning the books and Drist books and stuff, that Drow to me feels like one of the few races, even more than orcs and others, that have a culture. They have a culture with how they do business, how they do worship and social interactions and all sorts of stuff is kind of detailed. There is such a wealth of information on Drow that is not really there. If you go to bugbears and orcs and goblins and stuff, there's way less. I know less about dwarves in the Flannies and in most other cultures than I do about Drow in a way, because Drow, there is so much cool that their relations with spiders and there's a whole bunch of cool things. Their relations with Lolth, their main deity and so on. So there's such a richness to the descriptions of Drow and their culture. And I would love to have that with more monsters, so to speak, and more races. But Drow, that gives me so much to play with.
And they can be their own enemy, which they're always they're chaotic evil. They're killing each other all the time.
Yep, exactly. Yep.
So that's some good starting points. And it's just like at the beginning they were like mysterious, right? Back in the 80s, before Unearthed Arcana. So we're talking pre-83. They were mysterious. They were like, wow, they're really nasty enemies. And
they were high-level enemies.
Yeah, absolutely. And what was really cool about them, and this is not sexist, this has nothing to do with that. The females were nastier than the males, right?
Yep.
And that really was just different. And
it was the other than Harvey, it was like really the major matriarchal society that was called out in the World of Greyhawk.
Right. And it just was so cool. And I tried to find other references to besides the G&D series where there's a published source drow, and I only found one because we are all incorrect. And just I'm going to divulge go off on a small tangent here. So I asked everyone where there were dark elves that we fought pre Arcana, and everyone said Temple of Elemental Evil because there's a tentacle wall in there. There's not. It's a violet fungi wall. There's no dark elves. I looked through the entire module. There's not a single dark elf in it. And we thought all along there were dark elves.
I guess that they were in there. Yeah.
They're none. They're none in there. And I'm like, I could have sworn there was at least one in the 4th level, and there's none.
Yeah.
And I was like, holy jeez.
I think there's an Everett's Black Tentacles spell somewhere in there.
Yeah.
Everett's Black Tentacles, though, isn't a dark elf
But
spell.
Everett's a human wizard. Major power. But the places where you're going to start to see the drow appear outside of the G and the D series are Marquesa, in the A series modules. And then there is, because everybody and their mother wanted a piece of the drow. There is a drow librarian in the mage school in Greyhawk.
Jawal Severnane.
Yes.
And then there was also another drow called out in Valley of the Mage. The quality of that module. Anyway,
that's post 83.
Right. And so what I'm saying is they start to appear out. I mean, everyone goes, "Oh, the Forgotten Realms made drow ubiquitous, and they're supposed to be this thing." No, Greyhawk was doing the same thing.
Absolutely.
And so, it just everyone kind of said, "Oh, those are the coolest," and there were drow fanboys and girls long before the Forgotten Realms was a published world. So
just like vampire fanboy.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Good points. Good points. By the way, in Slave Lords, it's Dralv, not Marquess actually a Grey Elf.
Marquess is in the second one, right?
Marquess is in the third.
So why am I thinking that she was the? Okay, so I did the wrong.
Okay.
Carlos will.
Carlos. Yeah, Marquess is a Grey Elf, actually.
No, she was in the second one. The Secret of the Slaver's Stockade.
She was in. Here's Dralv right here.
A draw. Okay, so that's the first dark. Oh, I know why I did it, because when they did Slaver, she had all of these kind of clones of herself, which were actually other elves that she had surgically altered.
Marquess of the black, Marquess of the red.
Right, and that's right. For some reason, I thought, I haven't played the actual A1 through 4 series in so long that I don't remember it that well.
You just foreshadowed something Thursday night. They're going to run into Marquess of the Silver on Thursday night.
I can't make it.
Too bad.
Yes.
So sad.
I'm recovering.
Marquess of the Silver will make her appearance on Thursday night in the finale of the Defense of the Watcher's Towers. Hopefully we'll finish it. But so I only found pre-83, the GD series, and A4 is it for Dark Elves. If anyone knows of any published source, what's that?
Q1.
Q1 is not post 80. It's post 83.
All right.
It's post. Remember, because it didn't come out for ages.
No, I don't remember. It's way.
Yeah. So that's it. Those were the. I thought there was more. Hey, look at that! Someone just said Jay. Use my real name. So that's good old Rick, who's a poker buddy of mine. Hey, Rick. So hit the heart button for me, man. Make it 1070. You friended me, but you didn't follow. So yes. All right. Thanks, Mark. Yeah. Anna and I was having email problems earlier too. So I got to when I get stuff, I got to get off of Dropbox.
It's a new computer. You will have weeks until you're kind of fully back up and running again.
When was Mark's first time they used the drow?
Yeah, Mark was a few years younger than us, so Mark was really getting abused back then. I hate to say it, more by me than by Tim.
Trust me, Tim had his fair share of abuse in there too. Don't get me wrong.
But it's a shame because
I make up for it now.
Yeah.
And everybody else like the baton and
that's good.
A bunch of others.
Yeah, and then David Garvis finally got married off. There's a lot of that stuff. So we're making up for it in the years. It really stinks that I just can't pull stuff off email right now on this stupid machine. It's brand new.
It's there in Dropbox, so go ahead and take a
Okay.
look. That's another what I sent Jay was a picture of something that will be a classic. People that are of our age will definitely remember it. If and when he gets it.
Yeah,
there.
give me a second. So 1983 comes around and it changes everything, right? Right now we're just talking about them as enemies. No one's playing them, right, at this point. And then 1983 comes around.
We've had a few player characters, I think, over the years that have been drow or half drow, maybe, yeah. But they have been. I've been more kind of I've kind of wanted some players to play them simply because I wanted them inserted in the campaign, so they had kind of special missions and backgrounds and stuff like that. So yeah. So, but that was in the era of 3 and 3.5.
Yeah, but I'll say I doubt that there was no official, way to play a drow in 1E D&D.
No, I guess not.
But I can tell you there's got to be there were groups out there that were playing them long before they were ever available to us in 3rd edition. Everyone, as soon as something was hot, people were figuring out ways to make it a player character. I mean, I remember people trying to make dragons work as player characters.
Oh,
yeah.
Long before, Council Worms ever came out. So, I mean, it can be crazy out there. Now, in terms of official, we can talk about it when we get to those different editions that had them.
Mark, what folder?
It's under my character sheets.
Okay.
Well, actually, Brian, 1E had the capability, and that's what Jay was bringing up. Was it became a player character possibility under Arcana?
Oh yeah.
Yep.
This is great.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, and that's where 1983 comes out, and
that's where barbarians are from too.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. That's where Tarver and Bly. 1983. This changes everything. Oh my gosh, look at this massive raid coming in. Thank you so very much, Reiner 72. I wonder what channel he's from. It's Reiner 72. Wow, thank you.
Awesome.
For the party of 68. Wow.
Yes.
Yep. Welcome, guys.
Thank you.
Welcome.
So, we got a little gents and ladies. He's a great painter. Thanks, Reiner. Thank you so very much. We're talking Dark Elves tonight. And there you go, Mark. There's Mark's picture.
That's the one.
Oh, yeah.
That's an awesome picture.
So,
that is an absolutely awesome picture. I agree 100%.
Yeah, if you're going to incorporate drow, that one has to actually be up there. And for those that remember the early gold box games, any drow that came in the gold box games were so painful to deal with. I mean, you constantly saved your games before you went into any room that had drow in them because it was so difficult with all the magic resistance and stuff that would go on. It was just so painful. And that one was the worst.
So, the whole series was cool. I mean, all the gold box games were so awesome because they were groundbreaking at the time.
Yep.
You could sleep something and then throw a dart at it and kill it, right? So thank you.
Let's talk a little bit about drow magic.
Sure.
And drow magic items, because I think that was one of the iconic things. Is it was also a way for you to amp up the power level in your 1E campaign and not Monty Hall your players, because sure, you could use them down in the Underdark, or what, they didn't really call it the Underdark back then. I can't remember what they were calling it. But, wherever you were, as soon as you got into daylight, those things just disappeared.
Yep.
And, and so that was an interesting mechanic, born the necessity of, because you wanted to amp up the power level of the drow and the threat of them, but it made no sense. If they had all that magic power, why didn't they just take over the surface? And so you had this mechanic saying, oh, well, their stuff just doesn't work in the sunlight. And they have a disadvantage essentially from their vision. And, but at the same time, man, when you were down in the Underdark, the drow were just bad people to run into.
Yeah,
And I seem
definitely.
to remember somewhere along that same vein, I seem to remember reading somewhere that it had to do with some sort of it wasn't magic. It was based upon some sort of radioactive property.
Yeah.
There were a lot of that ultravision and infravision.
It had to do with the radiation.
Physical back in the early edition.
And I talked a little bit about that with the skin color as well. Now, so real quick, and tying in this conversation, think about this. Thanks, Will. Thank you. Base abilities. They get Undercommon, Silent Tongue, Infravision at 120 feet, right? Not 60, 120. Mm-hmm. Movement rate, males of 12, females of 15. And then innate spells, which is, by the way, Unearthed Arcana is actually different from D3. So this is part of the magic you're talking about, Brian.
Mm-hmm.
Just before you even start, Dancing Lights, Fairy Fire, Darkness, 5-foot radius. You get that at first level. Okay?
Yeah.
Now, in D3 and in Fiend Folio, it says above 4th, get the bonus spells. Unearthed Arcana, it says at 4th. Little change there. So,
which was completely broken.
Yes. Males get Detect Magic, No Alignment, Levitate. Females also get Clairvoyance, Detect Lie, Suggestion, and Dispel Magic. So and as you're coming in as a player character, you don't get your magic resistance, but you get +2 on all your magical saves still. And you can fight with a longsword in each hand, no penalty.
That's what I would.
I understand that. I'm laying the groundwork for where we are in 1983 when this book comes out, and how much it skewed things like crazy. Because now you got all these magic abilities, you got all these great weapons, right? You got all this cool stuff, and the floodgates started on player characters.
And every drow had a pair of Foster Grants. It seemed like. Completely immune to any.
You're absolutely correct, Mark. You're absolutely like in Phineas Figures. Here, hold my Foster Grants. Yeah, and that's a good point too. And I'll say this, Brian. This is something you don't know. We have a supplemental spell book, not spell book, a list of magic items from the late '80s. There was a thing in there. Some of our characters have to this day called a Ring of the Drow. Guess what it does when you put it on?
It gives you the racial subtype of drow, and you can use their stuff. Yes,
in light. It doesn't deteriorate them.
Yeah.
Yep.
So we have 3 or 4 characters actually still have that Ring of the Drow. I know one of Walt's characters has them. How about Tim? Do you remember anyone who had any of yours who have it? No? Okay. All right. But yeah, so imagine that running around with Powafli, which is fire resistant, and a Cloak of Elvenkind, and it's not deteriorating. I mean, so the balance is going like this, right?
But it doesn't really help you in the daylight.
Yes. All right. So Bloodwings design. All right. Everyone who's new to the raid, let's just 10 seconds here. We stream on Thursday nights. I'm not being arrogant. I believe we have the longest ongoing Dungeons and Dragons campaign in existence. 39 years ongoing. We stream that every Thursday night. We are tabletop, 1E2E old school with figures and out the wazoo and terrain and all that. And then Mark, who lives in Ohio, who moved from where we live out here, he plays in the group, but he DMs his own group, and he plays every other Monday. So we have basically 2.5. We have this talk show Sunday, my game Thursday, Mark's game every other Monday. We have 2.5 streams every week with a special thrown in occasionally. So that's where we are on it. Just want to get that out there for everyone because Bloodwings Design asked that. So it's not a sometimes thing. We stream every Thursday hardcore. If you like the old school.
Yeah, so think of this show as kind of the after show that kind of talks about what's going on or topics of interest in the game world. It's also, he did kind of bury the lead that his game world is the original published game world Greyhawk, and they've been playing it for 39 years. And so they have their own history that's contiguous and very different from what's been published by TSR and Wizards of the Coast.
Thank you, Brian.
You're very, very welcome.
That's a great way of putting it.
I'd summarize that for you.
So hopefully that answers your question, Bloodwings Design. Thank you for asking that. So I remember, And I don't know if this happened to you. I guess you were in Sweden in the '80s, right?
Definitely.
Was there an influx when Arthur Kinney came out of PCs at that time? I'm assuming there was.
Oh yeah, Arthur King was kind of the first major forward. It was like we played for at least 4 or 5 years, and then that book came and it was like, oh, barbarians. There was like a whole new world kind of open. That was the first step towards that kind of enormous influx of character possibilities that came with third edition. It was the first kind of taste of that, and that kind of opened the floodgates. And we were trying to that's when I tried to mess with being a game designer. We came up with all sorts of cool things, and the games, Monty Hall was nothing. We were all over the board with all sorts of mechanics and experimenting with everything. And then we kind of reined in things and realized that it needs to make sense and it needs to function again. But the Unearthed Arcana period was kind of a great experimentation because we got so much inspiration for it. So that was my years of trying to experiment with being a game designer. And now I probably learned way more since then, so I will probably be better, but I'm still way behind the people that do it professionally. So I make a few cool things now and then, and I kind of stick to them. So yeah.
And for everyone who's watching from the raid and who doesn't know Anna is the Greyhawk map maker. See the background? That's all Anna. That's great. The whole background's Anna. And by the way, our symbols up front in the middle, that's all Brian. All our Greyhawk heraldry for the Order of Yolk is all Brian's doing in the middle, and that's my main symbol is the base Order of Yolk symbol. Yeah. So yes, real.
And if I remember correctly, Unearthed Arcana was one of the books that was almost breaking the bank for TSR back in the day. That was one of the huge investment, and
it fell apart.
Exactly, it fell apart, and there were issues with it and stuff. But God, it was an awesome thing to get, so to speak.
It was a great book, but it had some really bad things in it too.
It was all over the board. It was meaning it was a bit like the Greyhawk Adventures. There was like some awesome gems in there, but it wasn't a coherent thought through project, so to speak.
Well, a lot of the stuff in Unearthed Arcana originally appeared in Dragon Magazine.
Yeah,
kind of like it was the development thought processes of Gary Gygax, who was really aiming to go to a new edition of D&D.
Yeah, second.
And that, his vision of second edition never came to fruition because 2 years after Unearthed Arcana, he was out.
Yeah.
And don't we know it? Leonard Lakofka tells me every time I talk to him. How do we get Leonard in? So.
Yeah. So, I'll just say that I didn't remember that Drow were playable in Unearthed Arcana because our play group really did not jump on that bandwagon at all. That was not our bag, And frankly, even in third edition, fourth edition, the fifth edition, where Drow are eminently playable, it's not really my go-to.
Right.
So, but we can talk about that. And just before we miss it, who was it? I'm going to scroll back a little bit. Someone was asking a question about the split.
Yes, and we're gonna discuss that in about 10 minutes. Okay,
awesome.
The Real Turtle did this because we have something that I guarantee you don't have, Brian, and I want to share it with you tonight. And I want to share it with everyone because we have 4 elven deities that are in a very obscure Dragon Magazine article that we use, and one of them is you'll see it talks about the War of Loth. And I'll share that with you out of it, and I will give credit to that person. It's a perfect segue into that discussion, and then instead of just Corellin. But I just wanted to say this. So when we got to 83, and the real influx of our Dark Elves started when we started the Temple of Elemental Evil in like 85, 86. So that's when we started really ramping up on the mega adventures. Like we ran modules, but way back in the day, but it wasn't really campaign oriented. It was just to run them. You know how you do that when you're younger, you don't know what you're doing, coordinating things. So we really got into coordinating the campaign right around in the 83, 84, 85. And that's when the first PC that I can remember of our Dark Elf came out, and that was Walt's female fighter cleric thief named Devitt. Okay. Now I just want Mark and especially because probably and Tim, if you remember, to discuss Devitt a little bit.
Yeah. So Devitt was a very rare class. She's a fighter cleric thief, And Drow by nature, Walt had come up with a really good backstory for why she had to be there. And really, there wasn't a lot of Drow being played actually at that time. I think we've incorporated that an awful lot more recently, but it was an anomaly in the actual campaign.
Correct. And, we stayed away from it. We did. We did. Not the Wayne group, but our group did. Jessica.
Yeah. We generally did just because it was something new and so forth. And at the time, Walt was probably the most advanced player that we had. That was, really in depth about, different types of character development and things of that nature. And so she ended up becoming a very powerful character in the campaign, very well known. Actually, in 3 separate occasions, Jay, or 2 separate occasions, lost the final word broadsword.
She was an original member of the Temple of Elemental Evil Forays. She actually was responsible for freeing Prince Thrommel. She became deep heart good friends with King Thrommel in our campaign.
Yep.
They recovered Fragarak. She actually wielded Fragarak until she lost it from a Deck of Many Things pull. Dumb, but that's the way it goes, right? She became the leader of King Thrommel's Light Horse Brigade Fast Cavalry Attack Unit in Furiundi. So this is a Dark Elf female character. She's a member of the Knight of Ulick. She's the 57th member to be inducted into the Order of Ulick. Yep. Every Order of Ulick member has a number associated with them, up to 212 now. So this is probably one of the most, the biggest named character for Dark Elves in our campaign. It was probably the first one. She's like, and she's also like 700 years old. She's ancient. She's really old. So
is she an NPC now, or is she still being played?
She's still being played, but remember, we don't play super highs that much, since we bounce around between all of our different adventuring groups. So on a rare occasion, he'll play her. But her daughter's being played by another player. Yeah, so that's how generational it goes. So remember, when characters in our campaign get so high, they go off and they do big things. No one ever really. You may become inactive in the Order of Ulick, but you don't really completely 100% retire. Like
they become a lot more like figureheads and like ambassadors, heads of state.
But it's so cool. Yeah.
Which is kind of like what Gary intended, is that when you got your named level in first edition, he assumed that you were going to build a castle or a stronghold, and you were going to hold those characters weren't going to adventure as much, and that their followers and other low level characters would do the grunt work, and then those guys would come out every once in a while to go do something big, at high level. But basically after 10th level, things get wonky in the game.
Wow.
And so
that's true.
There's a limit, and the sweet spot for certain types of adventures, there's 4 to 8, 3 to 7, something around there.
Depends on the edition, I guess.
Yeah.
Editions. Yeah.
I'm talking about first edition. The real sweet spots in that kind of right before you hit 9th and 10th level. It's kind of the sweet spot.
13th is where guys start retiring off in our game. Like, for example, in this mega adventure I'm doing, this mega event in the Pro Marsh, where the 2 towers are that they're defending, we have 13th level characters. We have Herbie's 13th, Shulman Meal's 13th. He's a dwarf. So we got some pretty high level characters, but there's also 8th, 9th, 10ths mixed in with that. So in our game, and Walt, I don't know if Walt's played Shulman Meal in 25 years, but see, I'm trying to bring back some of the old enemies and old school people and mix it all up with an old nemesis of Dark Brotherhood, but there's no Dark Elves in the Dark Brotherhood, unfortunately. You would think there would be with that name, but that's kind of the thing. So Devitt, he'll play Devitt again, I guarantee it, because she's not a stat-powered character. She's 10th level fighter, 13th level clerk, 14th level thief. So she's pretty high level, but she's not super powerful in stat-wise, and she's just a good overall character, and it's one of our originals. And I wanted to give her kudos, and I wanted to give her a special place as the first one that I can recall that really deserves on top of the pedestal in our campaign as a Dark Elf. And he played her right, too. He didn't overabuse her, didn't power her. She's a good line character. Played her perfectly all those years. Wouldn't you agree, Mark?
Absolutely.
Yeah, it was a fantastic job. Now, Brian, let's get to so we don't get too far behind on questions. We're gonna hop to a dragon. Let me bring it up. I'm doing two things here. Okay. All right. This is an article. We're gonna bounce around a bit here because we got tacos. Dragon 150, Dragon 155, the Elfin Gods. Okay. We use this.
I remember that.
Okay, you do? Okay.
I had a subscription. That stuff was delivered to my mailbox every month, and I also have them all electronically because I bought the Dragon Archive way back.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
We actively have these deities in our campaign, in our deities subfolder here. And the one I want to talk about is Aerolith the Thurinal, the first one mentioned. Aerolith the Thurinal. By the way, this is by Denise Lynn Voskuil. So I want to give her credit. It's a great article. It's only 3 pages. Now, tell the story about the split, and I'll incorporate Aerolith into the story according to this.
Am I telling the story of the split?
Yeah, sure.
Okay,
Why not? Sure.
Depends on what edition you're talking about. I mean, the original split, and it's been a while since I reviewed what they did in second edition days. You know, I can tell you how they did it in third and then in fourth, and how it's being done in fifth. But it essentially comes down to the basic story that runs through all of them is Lolth was originally a god amongst the pantheon of the elves, and she attempted to assert Corellian power, and she was cast down. So she's essentially the Lucifer character within the Drow
or
pantheon.
Loki.
Was that
or
she
Loki
applied her affinity with spiders and stuff, or did that? How did that come?
I'm not really sure how she got associated with the spiders. I don't remember that part of the story. If someone has that, speak up.
I'm gonna read what it says here. There are many tales of Aerolith's fights against evil beings. Perhaps the most famous is that of the battle with Lolth, the demon queen of spiders. After the alignment wars had driven many evil races underground, the Drow elves adapted and flourished. So this is probably a little bit post. Lolth, their goddess, lured the good races and began to develop plans to destroy them. And then it says. Aerolith assembled many Grey High and Wood Elves to hold back the dark forces. Fighting took place at night on the gloomy, cloudy days caused by the Dark Elf clerics. When the sun came out, the Drow withdrew into the underground, sometimes foolishly, followed by the opposing forces. So it just says, it's going back and forth. So Aerolith the Thurinal is the elven god of Drow hunting. God of Light and the God of Drow hunting in our campaign. So we have a lot of characters, and I have a specialty priest I made up off of this also, so you can actually play, with special spells. A lot of them are Paylor and Foltest spells, the light spells, the sun spells this specialty priest gets. So I just wanted to say, I know if Rox is on, 155, Real Taco Turtle, Dragon 155. So the spider thing, I don't know. I'm thinking that I don't. That's a good question, Taco. I don't, and all of us are at a loss of where the spider thing comes. She may have had an affinity for them beforehand.
Maybe she started using that.
You're welcome, man. You're welcome.
Yeah, she embraced it when she got expelled or had to turn evil, and I don't know. Yeah, I haven't. But one thing is interesting when it comes to elven specialty priests and clerics. The way I run it in my campaign is that elves are very they are pantheon worshippers, they don't worship individual deities. So my elven clerics, they were simply devoted to all the elven gods. They were not specialty priests like a lot of human cultures that are much more devoted to one, and so they were a bit like the old faith in my campaign too. They are pantheon based. So when elves go hunting, that's when they use that. Corellian is their kind of main deity, but an elven cleric they use that they have this their devotion spans the whole pantheon of elven gods, and they use the one that is appropriate for whatever setting is
like
marriage.
Culture.
Yeah.
Well, and so the difference is like Greyhawk. The pantheons are what we call loose.
Yeah.
There's not there's not this definitive. It's not like the Greek pantheon where evil and good are all in one tight knit close family. You have multiple pantheons, and over the thousands of years since the twin cataclysms, the cultures have mixed and matched, and the gods have been kind of mushled about. And and so gods that were originally from one culture may now be universal, and universal gods have been subsumed into cultural pieces. There's all kind of it's very loose, and so Anna's tight pantheon for the elves is a very stark difference. That's
what because humans are different, and humans have taken some elven gods, renamed them, and worship them in a different way, and I also see some crossover with old faith, meaning Druidism and stuff. They kind of also embraced a lot of the nature loving and stuff that elves had. So I see it as and then humans coming in and so you steal devotions, and in some sense probably the gods like it because they get more worshippers, which is good for their power base. So
so just so you know, just so 155, that article is basically a fan article that gives that particular person's pantheon that she created around elves and drow, and you guys have incorporated it, and that's kind of in your world now.
Yes.
And and then non-human deities have been developed officially in a different way. There's a lot of different ways you can approach this. There's also third-party pieces. In third edition, there's a thing called Plot and Poison from one of the many D20 companies out there. It's like, so there's no like one particular way, unless you're like absolutely having to have whatever the official word is from Wizards of the Coast or TSR. All of us have a different take on how the gods interact in our worlds.
Yep.
We all have different ways that we conceptualize the fluff, as we sometimes refer to it, of the elves, in terms of how how they came to be in the world and what their relationship to humans are, and and the gods. So so you're not going to get a coherent, definitive account of this is the drow. You're going to get a multifaceted view from all of us,
and then you can decide for yourself, and that's the great thing about Greyhawk. And so Taco Turtle brought up a great point. I want to bring this up from his discussion. Spiders are matriarchal, and they tend to eat the males, right? It makes perfect sense to Dark Elves. I mean, that's a perfect click connection there.
Well, I think the Black Widow does, but I don't know if all of them do.
Well, that's enough.
There's a lot of sexual
dimorphism.
Yeah, in spiders, there's a lot of sexual dimorphism where one gender is larger than the other. It's usually the female, and whether they cannibalize the male or not, that's that's not across the board with spiders. I used to have a fascination with them outside of D&D, and biology and insects cool in general. But it's a cool connection. You're absolutely right in that. The Black Widow, as a symbol, and you could say that in the original thing, one of the basic tenets is that you had a gender fluid god that is Corellian in charge of the pantheon, and he presents both as male and female or indeterminate, and then you have this very higher matriarchal society that is a drow, and it's super important for them to define what male and female is. It's very binary in their world, which is very different from the elves. And so she's kind of like the exact opposite of is it the Seldarine?
It might be from purpose. She wanted to be the opposite of elves.
And from a storytelling standpoint, it's a perfect juxtaposition because it allows that contrast allows you to say, this is what the elves are, and this is what they're not,
right?
And this is what the drow are, and this is what the drow are not, and so and they've toyed with that a lot in 5th edition, and we can talk about that later. But I'll just say is that whatever the ultimate battle between Lolth and the good pantheon of the elves was, or whatever the reasons were, you can kind of make that up as you go. I mean, there's no one definitive piece to go for that.
And that's the charm of Greyhawk. Actually, is a lot of it's up to us to fill in the blanks, and that's where we take a lot of published sources and use what we want, use what we don't. Now, here's a question, Tim. I see your wheels are turning. When did you know after 83, after came out, that we had a problem here with all the goodies that Dark Elf player characters got? I want to hear this one, like the dual wielding in both hands, all that.
Well, I think the biggest reason people don't like them is because of abuse, and I think if you use I think they're a cool character, and I Edmonds player character and random. But I think if you realize when you use the term easily wieldable for a person that weighs 120 pounds, I think you're looking at, okay, 2 short swords is easily wieldable. 2 long swords, a human can't use 2 long swords really well.
Yeah.
Why? They're too big and too bulky, and it doesn't work that way. So, I mean, a long sword and a dagger, okay, you can use those easily wieldable. But I mean,
but even a long sword and dagger, you're still.
Well, the D&D long sword is not a real long sword. It's the D&D. It's basically a sword is like 40 inches, so
yeah,
longer.
Okay, so we're not talking real world long swords. Okay, yeah.
Okay. Tim's an Arma. He's a what are you, Grandmaster?
No.
I thought you. You killed like 80 guys in a half hour, didn't you? During a fight?
I did test for senior free scholar with a long sword, but the long sword in reality is about 4 feet long. It's 2-handed. So,
yeah.
Busting. I'm busting those stones.
I've got a counterpoint to that, because one of the reasons why I think that there was such an affinity for them being easily wieldable, if you actually look at what the elves were in first edition, they gained bonuses with longsword and short sword.
But it's the long sword is, but not with 2 of them.
No, but my point is that elves naturally take to longsword, and they're very proficient with it, and hence is the concept behind
wieldable but easily wieldable.
I know, but what Mark's point is that if, in D&D game terms, Grey Elf fighting short sword gets that +1 in both hands.
Yeah.
Right.
And again, we're dealing with
that passes the common sense test and logic test, and easily wieldable.
I understand that. Right,
but you're dealing with real world versus D&D combat, which a lot of the stuff, the assumptions that were made, especially in the early days of the game, it was very abstract.
Well, I'm just saying that the abuses and the reason people don't like Dark Elves is because people didn't apply a little bit of common sense.
Let's make this leap, okay? You go from this is my Bible on how Dark Elves are played in our campaign. So all right, and then we'll go back to this. 1991, The Drow of the Underdark comes out. This is not a bad reference. Now, it's written by Ed Greenwood, and who knows what he was smoking at the time. But right, okay. So it's pretty good. There's Drizzits all throughout this. So and it really doesn't. There's not a lot of unbalancing things. There's some good magic items in it. There's some good spells. They elaborate more on some of the deities, like Illustrae, which is the Dark Maiden of the Surface World, which we kind of use occasionally in our game. We don't use any of the other ones. Now, we use the Elder Elemental God going all the way back, of course, to D3 and G3, right? Right, Brian? Because right in here it says that House Ilserves, which is a Calavdra, and Tomator are Elder Elemental God worshippers, and that's why they use the, what do you call it, tentacle rods, right? Mm-hmm. And all the other ones are Loth worshippers. All right, so this book is decent. But then the year after that, the monster comes out, right? The Menzo Barons and box set comes out, 1992, and all hell breaks loose, right? Because all the Drizzt books are out all over the place, and that becomes, I'm not going to use the word canon, but that becomes the established norm on how Dark Elves are supposed to be, right? Crazy dual wielders, can do almost anything. That's the thought process that's out there now because of the Forgotten Realms.
Well, but also remember the novels have come out, and
right.
You have now this archetypal dark elf that people imprint on because that's their introduction. We all fought them as enemies in the D series, and then suddenly people are being presented with and then stuff started to shift when you had Unearthed Arcana, but the floodgates then open when Drizzt comes onto the scene because everyone sees this character and everyone goes, I want to be that. Well, not everybody, but a lot of people did. And it's like when you replay a superhero game, there's always that guy that's going to make the Wolverine analog.
Right.
It's just like, 'cause that's the cool. I want to pop claws, and so yeah. I mean, we everyone craps all over this character, but the reality is he's super popular. And he's got a good author behind him who writes compelling stories, and people imprint on that, and that's so there's a whole group of people that say, wow, I want that, to be able to play that, and that comes later.
Yeah, and we had that issue all over the place, and this is where we had to take a step back. So the Cavalier class, it's not meant to be a dual wielding class, and then it ends up we have this Dark Elf Cavalier. Everyone knows where I'm going, right, Mark?
Yep.
Who is it?
Lector.
Named, what's his full name?
Oh, I don't even remember.
Hannibal Lecter.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
I didn't even know that.
So Garnett's character Lecter now is a dual wielding Dark Elf Cavalier, because in Unearthed Arcana, Dark Elves could be Cavaliers for some crazy reason, right? I could never figure that one out either, because the Cavaliers are, that just didn't make sense.
Noble.
Cavaliers cultural, so it doesn't make any sense.
I guess it just didn't fit, but so now I got a Dark Elf Cavalier specialized in both hands with a longsword, and 11th level they get they're 3 attacks per round, or 5 every 2 or whatever. I got a Dark Elf Cavalier with 9 attacks every 2 rounds.
You let it happen.
Well,
you should.
It's my fault. It's my fault.
It's your fault.
You're the DM. Why didn't you talk to that?
Because I was a nice guy back then too.
All
Plus,
Cavaliers would have hated that guy and would have killed him.
Well, guess what? He's dead now, right? So, and then Walt's character Nienna, his Knight of Ulick, she was a Knight of, a Knight class back then. We had a base Knight class. She was specialized in both hands too, and it got out of hand. And I was like, that's it. Stop. We need to reset this, right? And that's where we kind of stopped it. Because, as you can see, Brian and Anna, when you get in balance, you have to do something about it, or it's just going to get worse and worse and worse. So that's where the point stopped. Go ahead.
No, you're going to see that in 3rd edition, because 3rd edition, is a player's playground in terms of game rules. Because everything is spelled out, and it was really hard because they still try to do that through line of the Drow from 1st and 2nd edition into 3rd. And so they had to do like weird things where you had monster levels before you could take class levels, because you had to be a certain level to get this ability and whatnot.
Well, it was a way of equalizing. If you were powerful and had racial hit dice, and you were like playing a giant, for instance, then you started at 4th level because simply by birth you were so damn big and powerful.
Well, they actually had a whole book in 3rd edition that allows you to play from 1st level up, where you would have monster levels that you would do, and then you put a class on top of that after that. So you could play a bugbear in 3rd edition.
But it was kind of cool. We did that quite a lot. We had some evil campaigns and some other stuff when we did it, and it was a lot of fun. But you had to treat. You can't mix that kind of with normal characters and think that everything worked balance out. No, it didn't. But it was great for special campaigns and stuff. Yeah.
Right. You had
and detailed NPCs.
And this kind of comes just to my general philosophy on playing Drow characters. Is I generally don't. But if there is a reason to, if it's part of the campaign world, or it's the particular, segment of a campaign world I'm playing in, like in the 4th edition days, there was a organized play campaign set in the Underdark where most people were playing Drow. You were all part of houses in that wonderful city box you have, and we all had our factions and whatnot. And it was a hot mess because we were all pretty much evil, and we all had cross purposes. And so it was really hard to kind of figure out how we would work together and not kill each other.
Yep.
Other than the organized play says you couldn't kill someone else's character. So you found other ways to mess with them. But, this comes, so there's there's this whole piece where unless you're going the route where you guys have gone, where these people are breaking away from drow culture and they're good and they're going to try to assimilate into the surface world, if you're doing like On and I have, where you're doing an evil campaign, one of my fondest memories is my wife's drow cleric killing me in an evil campaign because because that's what she would do.
Yeah.
It was like that campaign did not last long because we fell to infighting really quickly. If you're going to do that kind of stuff, you gotta have a reason for the characters to be together. They have to have a reason to work together.
Absolutely.
And they can have side missions and they can have different things that will make them look guilty, but they shouldn't just be overtly trying to kill each other.
Brian, Will just said, it sounds like she got payback on you for something.
No, I will say my wife.
That was funny.
When she not payback. When she plays a character, she has a former boyfriend that Lily would not get in the car after a session because she made his paladin fall by saying, "Oh, we don't need to save those people. We got to do the greater good." And they left someone to be sacrificed, and his paladin was good with that. And then his god came down and stripped all his powers, and then he would not come home in the car. He literally walked all the way home. Man. So my wife will play a character to the hilt.
Good.
She doesn't, and that's great.
Absolutely.
It can be upsetting when you're on the wrong end of that, but
but during the third edition era, just after the millennium, there was some cool products that I bought and now I'm a heretic because these are Forgotten Realms products, but I bought them because they had a lot of cool options.
What are they? Show them.
Yeah, the City of the Spider Queen is it's one of these that have tons and tons of drow stuff. I never played like any other adventure. I haven't played it as intended, but I've stolen a lot of cool drow stuff from my Underdog. And one that I think was a gem that not seen in and it's called the Underdark. And this one has tons of cool stuff for running Underdark adventures and monsters ideas and all sorts of stuff. And it's useful since it's a third edition, not 3.5. This is a third edition product. Both of them are third edition,
which is cool. I mean, we pilfer.
From you can pilfer a lot from it, even to fifth edition, I guess. Yeah, since I've been running Pathfinder for 10 years, this is easy peasy to kind of, you have to dial up and down certain things, but it's perfect to steal.
Yeah, and I'll just say this about any material that's published is, don't worry about what the label on it is. If there's cool stuff in there, steal it. Yep. I mean, Al-Qadim is its own little game world, and eventually did get set in the Forgotten Realms. But there's so much in there. If you're trying to develop Baklunish culture and you want some ideas, there's some great stuff to lift out of that series. Mm-hmm. I really like that Underdark book. Not because it was Forgotten Realms, but because it just had some great ideas.
Yeah, I have to say who did it. These City of the Spider Queen is James Wyatt, who wrote this one. Okay. And the Underdark is by Bruce R. Cordell, Gwendolyn F.M. Kestrel, and I don't know who she is, and Jeff Quick.
I'm gonna look for that because I don't have that one. So.
These are if you're interested in Drow and the Underdark, these are two, and with the big box set Mesobras, and they're fantastic.
I will say Bruce Cordell wrote one of the best adventures ever, Firestorm Peak. If you haven't seen that one, that was really the first time that the Far Realms, aka Cthulhu, basically was put into the D&D universe, and it's a Gates of Firestorm Peak. Cool. A really good adventure to check out that he wrote. He was a great D&D producer, and he does some interesting stuff now in the outside of Wizards since he left. So good stuff.
I got a question for Mark. Mark,
you're back.
Mark takes a lot. Mark uses a spell that I love finding. All different sources of spells. I should count. We probably have 5,000 spells in the game. This is a mage spell. You know which one I'm talking about, right? Mm-hmm. Go for it. Why don't you talk about that? And so talk about the sub-race of Dark Elves that we were talking about. Go ahead.
Yeah, so Drider form. So this was a Seven Sisters I want to say.
I think it's a Seven Sisters spell.
Seven Sisters spell. So, which is a great book, by the way. Which is another one. I don't know, Jay, if you actually have it to show.
That one I didn't bring up.
No.
Of all the books I wrote, I didn't bring that one up. It's not Forgotten Realms Pilfer.
To my understanding, only my character actually is the only one that has it in the spell book. I don't think anybody else has it
It's
right
like
now.
4th level.
But yeah, it's a 4th level mage spell, and basically allows you to become a Drider for, I believe it's 1 turn per level, and you are stuck.
Yeah, I've seen that spell.
Drider.
Yep.
You can't turn back, even
And
to
not
spell
turn
magic.
back.
And Drider is one of
Unless
these
somebody
super
does it
cool
to spell
monsters.
magic.
Sorry.
That's okay. That's okay. Yeah, it's a great. I think the Drider is more unique to Greyhawk than even the Dark Elf, because it's a cool. Loth has cursed her followers and turned them into this.
Yeah,
I mean,
and
it's
it's also
cool.
a monster that ties into the culture of the Drow and how.
And I forgot that on my notes. It's not even on my notes of the Drider. So
yep. I just love monsters that has a backstory. They fit into the ecosystem, to the culture, and still are cool fantasy monsters.
And there are no Driders in D1 through 3. None.
No, none. They were not.
They don't appear to
invented until
Q1.
later.
They're not in the originals.
I was wondering, are they in the books, the Forgotten Realms books?
All over the place. All over the place.
Yeah, I haven't read them in like 2 years since they came out, but I need to read them again.
They actually didn't make an appearance in canon source books until Monster Manual 2.
Yeah, because
that's where
Dark Elves are in Fiendfolio. Driders are in Monster Manual 2. Yep, correct.
They're in Q1.
The Q1, yes, but they don't put them in. Q1 is after 83, right? Q1 once again is later. It wasn't done right after
Monster Manual 2.
Not after Monster Manual 2, but it's after Fiendfolio. Right. Yeah, right. So Q1's where they first appear. You know, there's tests being done, they failed or whatever, and the Driders are running. Yeah, that's where they first appear. I'm just saying the entire D series has not a single Drider in it. That's the point I was trying to make. Is that it's.
But they were. You got to remember, they were developing this stuff. You know, those of us that played all of us have played way back in the day. We're fossils. You know, and so we got to see the development of all this.
Yeah.
You know, we've seen this metamorphosis of the Drow as a race and as a culture in D&D and what it means in the different editions. Well, you know, at least Anna and I have done that. I don't know how many editions you guys have played beyond second.
Back in the original.
Yeah. But
it's it for us.
Yeah, I've evolved through every edition basically. Yep.
Yeah.
Since
and so, us talking about Driders being kind of this weird new thing, it's like it's been around so long now.
Yeah.
You know, for a lot of people, and a version of them have been available, you know, in multiple editions. You know, so it's not such a new thing.
Yes, we are fossils.
We always have to, we look back and we go, oh yeah, remember when this was new?
Yeah.
You know, and there were so many monsters being pumped out by the time second edition rolled around. You couldn't play all of them as a DM. There's just no way. You know, there were some really dumb monsters.
The Flumph.
Oh, the Flumph is so awesome. It's
awful good. I don't know what purpose it serves.
No, exactly. That's the point. It's one of these. It's just cool, cute, out of the world kind of. They need to be cute. It's like the seahorse in the real world. It's a cute little thing. No one understands how the hell it doesn't.
Wait. I got one for Mark. The Boggle.
Yep.
Yeah.
They die instantly.
He killed. There's all Anna, you're too kind on that. I mean, there's
a creature like Gollum.
Yeah, but I love to have monsters. I love to have more of an ecology, not just the brutes that kills PCs and stuff. I want to have an ecosystem, and the Flumph is one of these weirdos that is kind of in a fantasy world. I want a Flumph occasionally.
Just the lower end of the food chain.
Yeah, exactly. It's awesome. I want the kind of the esoteric little cute ones, and that fills the purpose in the ecosystem. And
Rock says, "Give the Flumph psionics."
Yeah, exactly. I just yeah.
Oh, that's
And when
awesome.
I came to Gen Con and I saw someone wearing the Flump hat, I was like,
Oh
oh
my
yes,
God.
that is so cute. That was
Oh.
awesome. Someone had done some knitting at home and had a Flump hat, and it was like, oh, that was absolutely gorgeous. That was some of the
I
best.
like Nilbogs though.
There's a
Yeah.
lot of
We all love Nilbogs, man. We all love Nilbogs. Absolutely.
Yep.
Oh
All
yeah.
right. So
So Lord Grindelwolf, you're absolutely right. They did the Drow were riding lizards in the D series. I mean, that was those little underground underdark lizards, yeah, as their mounts. So they did have cavaliers. They just didn't ride horses.
Yeah.
Scary.
They ride spiders, so yeah.
no, they rode
They rode
lizards,
lizards.
subterranean
Oh yeah, I know that, but I
lizards. Yeah.
skipped that part. And in my
Yeah.
campaign, they rode nasty,
Smart.
difficult spiders that would monsters in themselves. Yeah.
So now I'm gonna bring up a bone of contention. It's not a bone of contention. It's just different, like Brian said. The Calavdra. Okay. My campaign, she is Elder Elemental God all the way. She bounces between Loth, Eos, Gratz, Elder Elemental God, all over the place in all the published sources, right? It's a mess. It's all over the place. So, we stuck with, like I said, this is our Bible. We stuck with this, and I think the having the rivalry between the Elder Elemental God and Loth is good. But I know some people have taken it a different direction. Like, Anna, what have you done?
Oh yeah, I did it completely different.
Well, why don't you share that?
First of all, I didn't like the Elder Elemental God. I simply see it as some sort of scheme. Someone is fooling them, or they're using it to fool the poor people around them, so to speak. So I simply skip that mostly. But
Okay.
I see her as a pawn between Lolth and Grast. And they're kind of using it, and I use to some degree, and she's simply playing them off, but mainly I see her as loyal to Grast. Mainly that's the thing, and she's secretly Grast's lover, and they get a love child in my campaign.
Yes.
Yeah, in my campaign, which means that I have a half sister. And that Grast uses, and especially Lord Vuron that I'm taking from the Gorda books and used as one of Grast's main advisors and stuff. So Lord Vuron actually is the one teaching and bringing up Kravda's daughter, because Kravda, she doesn't want any kids, and she's busy with the whole scheming and whatnot, so she doesn't care. But Lord Vuron realized that this Cambion and half drow, half demon is kind of super cool, and so he brings her up and teaches her, so she becomes this kind of interesting little bit of a kind of a spook creature, and hired assassin, and going around doing Grast's bidding through Lord Vuron, and eyes and ears, and occasionally getting people out of whack. And she's that rich pampered kid that had been through the best schools, the best education ever, and been fighting in the pits from she was like a tiny little inkling just to survive, and so on and so forth. So she's this little brat that then eventually said, "Well, fuck parents, and I want to have fun too." So she goes off the rails a little bit and stuff. So she's one of these that I've inserted into it, and she's also Grast's eyes and ears against Ayus. So she's kind of going around and tricking it a little bit. And when Ayus goes off the rail a bit too much, then and start questioning his dad, so to speak, then you get into problems.
And what's her name?
Sestra.
And who did you give permission to use in his campaign? Her.
Oh yes, you've had her in your campaign too.
Yes,
so
I have.
Yep. So she's spread now. So yep. So that was one of my main kind of villain, kind of side plot, just to confuse the characters. And she's not thoroughly evil, and so on. She's more curious of the world, and so I have her as she's basically neutral. She's having fun, and she has strong evil tendencies if need be, but her alignment is not her thing. She doesn't have an overarching super agenda. She's that spoiled brat who wants to have fun and learn about the world, and occasionally can find someone she can care for, and then she's going to have a long life, and she's starting to realize it, and she gets bored at times, and so on and so forth. Yeah.
And she is fantastically done because she's an enigma, and so I can mold her however I want. Thank you, Anna. So she, in our campaign, she's chasing this mage around. Guys, have you ever seen that in the Winchester's Bulwark series? She shows up looking for this mage, and mage gets and so that's what's going on. And Lisden's looking for this mage too. So we're building up a story arc to that. So think about this, Grazit. So Drelsna in Shokanth is half sisters to Zestra as well, who's half sisters to Iaz. They're all.
It's exactly, it's a family feud drama, and it's a bit like these kind of organized criminal family trying to rule over the Flannies in a way. And in my campaign, I got to the point where Zestra was kind of growing up, realized, damn, I need to get my own power platform to some degree, and to instir some fear into the other ones. That's when she went a little bit, when that was during the war, and Iuz was getting big. So she realized that, damn, I need to kind of make a platform here. So she took a little bit of a campaign, went in and slaughtered some of Iuz's top ones just to show a point, saying that, damn, you have enemies here, and I'm family. I'm worse than any of them, so to speak, and did it. And then so she goes off the rails a little bit, and she goes to other planes and stuff, takes some hit jobs to earn resources and get the coolest equipment and stuff like that. Yeah. So she's kind of not overly super selfish in that way, but she's completely ruthless if she wants to. So she's I have her alignment as flexible more than many other characters. So yeah.
Now let's go around the clockwise after that. Your favorite Dark Elf character, PC or NPC, Brian?
God, put me on the spot.
Yeah, why not?
I really don't have a fave, to tell you the truth. I mean, there's not one to say.
I'm sorry.
No, I hate that character so much. For me, I mean, Cloudra is iconic for me because you know she was kind of like the being bad before you go to the demon webs, and her family. But yeah, I agree with you. You know, she's kind of schizophrenic in terms of her publication history, and she's all over the place. And I could go into the whole Monty Cook decision to pair Tharzadin and the Elder Elemental God, and how I thought that was a mistake. But really, there's none of them that really stand out for me because I just haven't really had one in any of my campaigns or what I played with where I just said, wow, that was a really amazing character. I'd like to see that person again. And it sounds like you guys have some very interesting characters that are going to be faves. So let's pass that on to someone else.
No, that's cool, man. I want to get everyone's input on it. Thanks, though. That's perfect on that discussion. The Cloudra is the top one out of all of them, obviously, and she has any campaign you can decide how to play, whether she's the way that Anna has it or whether she's the way I have. It's different, and that's a great thing about Greyhawk. So Tim, I know I remember some in your campaign besides Atarava that were nasty. What do you think? I know you're going to say Atarava probably, but what you got?
I don't remember. She's the only one I really remember, but I liked. My favorite is her at low level when she was far more sneaky and deceptive. And I remember she was an NPC and she told the party that she was a cleric of. It was a chaotic good deity, and nobody checked. She had no protections up. Nobody checked, and she just inserted herself in the group, and they were protecting this art. They found this other dimensional artifact, and they were protecting it because they needed to get it to the right people. And they had a lawful good monk guarding it. And I remember Mark was playing Buzz Tillman, the neutral evil halfling, so he was good too. And she borrowed money from the monk as the first half of the payment to the assassin to kill the monk.
Yeah.
And then she bullied Buzz Tillman for the second half of the payment.
Yeah. That was.
And then she stole the artifact and did something evil with it.
Those were the days of the evils.
That was She was chaotic evil, and then she went on and AH'd her and made her the super villain later.
Yeah, absolutely. And certain supervillains, you want to instill fear in your player characters. I tried doing that Thursday night, but everyone was in a fog for some reason. I don't know what it was. Yeah, I know you weren't watching on Thursday, but like I brought in a magic user assassin that has done some of the worst things to halflings, right, Tim?
Yeah.
You know who I'm talking about, right? What
Not
she did
sure.
to Leuven in Highport.
Sam?
I thought that one did that was dead.
No, she never died.
I thought
No, she was in Thursday night. The bee
I
was
thought she
there.
got-
No,
I thought Skeeve had all her stuff.
no, she's back.
Oh,
Yes.
all right.
Tim, you gotta get a
Yes,
white-
dun, dun, dun.
You gotta get a whiteboard and write all the names down and have a flow chart of all the people.
So you need to have that character that instills fear, but sometimes it doesn't matter because everyone is, and they're not. It's just it doesn't work.
Leuven's getting old. He's getting
Leuven, yeah, absolutely. So, Mark, yours.
Oh, so I'm going to put Jay on the spot with this one.
Okay.
So there was a character class that we introduced.
Oh my God.
And
I forgot.
it goes hand in hand with my actual 2 player characters at the time.
Yeah, and I have them here.
Both throughout. So Jay introduced a character class that came mostly out of the Great Net Spellbook.
Yes, it did.
Which was known as the Dominatrix.
It was a test, guys. It didn't work.
It was a very demented period we were going through at the time. Trying to enjoy some classic comedy and things like that.
What was her name? Viersa,
exactly.
Dominatrix thief.
She tormented all sorts of players.
So you made Dominatrix into a class?
Yeah, I did, because if you go through the Great Net Spellbook, there's these weird spells like hair growth, intensify orgasm, crazy stuff in there, right? In the Great Net Spellbook. Seriously.
Oh, that's great.
Yes. So
And you had to test
I
it.
had to tell you, play test
Yeah.
of Dominatrix. And she was a dark elf, chaotic neutral of evil tendencies. Bill hated her. The other Bill hated her. Alan hated her. And the only person who really was tolerant of her was Mark. Walt didn't care.
Well, that's because I was also playing 2 dark elves as well.
Oh, yeah, that fits right in.
Yes, she had whips. Absolutely, she had whips. But they have all sorts of spells with no save. They get like these spells that she can blow a kiss, kind of like a vampire can do. Those kind of spells. And the kiss gets blown. It's kiss of paralyzation or kiss of whatever.
You mean more like a succubi?
Kind of, yeah. The Dominatrix had all these spells where there was no save, and it drove them all crazy. I love the character, but they had enough with it. And so the adventure group we have now called the Reborn, which I've used a lot, is is all those characters that broke apart when that thing failed, because we playtest a lot of things, and so they're back together. And maybe one day, if I'm in a rotten mood, I will bring Viersa back.
See, I'm waiting for that 20-year arc in the future when we're like 75, 80 years old, and Jay breaks this character back out again.
Yes. Wow.
Yeah, see, look at Bill and the Seshar score, no save spells. And there were some terrible spells. Terrible. I mean, just weird stuff. Like you could grow people's fingernails. I mean, weird stuff. And you're right, Brian. The Great Net Spellbook is filled with that shit, right? So, of course, me and my deviated mind goes, I can make a class out of it. So that's what I did.
Yeah.
So
it was a very interesting character. Once again, it was one of those things like Jake likes to play a lot of what he calls utility NPCs. This was probably the weirdest utility character you'd ever have seen.
I think
it was very throat punch coming.
No. I had her as an antithesis when Fred the Farty did the spinning with the darts. That was Viersa.
Yeah.
So you've met her. By the way, her picture is Viconia from Baldur's Gate 2. That's the picture I used for Viersa.
Okay.
So that's the picture I used for her. Back then, we didn't have many pictures. Pinterest wasn't around. That's the picture I used. So, but why don't you talk about your 2 player characters, Mark? Because they're brilliant. They're brilliant.
Sure. Yep. So my 2 are actually brother and sister. One of which they're twins. The female is a specialty priest of Sol Northalendra. So
Above,
she is a surface. She worships a surface level deity, and she's chaotic good, and she has a thing for one of the NPCs that is out there, one of the Winchesters. But she is truly chaotic good. She is to the point of that she believes in personal freedoms and things of that nature, and hates bullies and things like that. Her brother, on the other hand, is Melzar. He is probably the second most hated character in the campaign. Absolutely despises humans. Yeah. He's almost like a Ferengi, if you think of it that way.
Yeah.
From Star Trek, he despises humans with the exception of one, and that's this Winchester, because he actually gave his life for him. So he found a new profound respect for this one and only human. But
Emerson Winchester the Fourth.
Yep, he is extraordinarily power hungry, and so he will stop at nothing. He's actually trained by Jalarzi, is it not?
No, it's Jawal, I thought.
Jawal
Severnane, he actually is trained by. And he's also a specialty class. Tell him what
yes, he is an earth elementalist. So I went with the same concept of being a drow, that they would have things to do with the earth element, and it just made sense for me to have him as an earth elementalist. And actually, he has the record for the biggest mass kill, if I remember correctly, because he cast Sandstorm while we were underground. And we ended up, it was a bunch of troglodytes, if I remember. It was like a whole cave of troglodytes.
They got stuck in it, and there was nowhere to go for him.
Yeah, and I got such a lucky roll. It was a critical, I think, if I remember correctly.
Yeah,
and basically wiped out an entire clan of troglodytes in one foul swoop. But it was an amazing time. But
the cool interaction between those two characters and the humans, like my character Emerson and the Reborn and all the other characters in the group, everyone loves Zolathiri, and like Bill just put a real jerk for up Shashar Scorn for Melzar, and it works. And the Dark Elf thing is just they're refugee. They left, they fled. Basically, she fled. He tagged along, I believe, is the
Yeah, he tagged along to follow after her to make sure that she was okay.
Great.
He's just crazy, taking care of other people. Why would you want to take care of other people? The only thing you can ever depend on is yourself.
Very greatly. Mark plays him perfectly. So, but all right, now ready for my favorite? This is so corny. Worse than the Dominatrix. Bill Shashar Scorn has a deep gnome named Moreau, Moroe. Now that's an anagram. You figure out what that flips around. More. Alan, this is in the Omega Patrol, the worst named adventuring group in the history of our thing. Alan has a character named Juliana Darkbeam, Dark Elf Cleric Mage. They fled the Underdark because they're in love with each other. A Dark Elf and a Deep Gnome. Okay, if you flip Moreau around, it's Romeo and Juliana, Romeo and Juliet, right? So then Brian's like, "What the hell?" No, I had nothing to do with this. I had nothing. Yeah. So right. So that's Bill and Alan spoofing. So that's yeah.
You're running out of ideas when you've been playing for 39 years. You start,
Yeah. So well.
Yeah, but it's.
Exactly.
I can't throw any stones, guys.
So I like.
Yeah,
it's really corny, but they're all it's PDA.
We've all done all sorts of stuff things like that over the years.
The greatest couple ever.
It's just good that we know that it was before the internet and stuff. So,
How many NPCs are anagrams of Gary and his players' names? Mystery Cycle, about 500. In fact, the Relhai Sinlu in here, Sinlu is Cindy and two of his daughters, I believe, for the Drow City. So that's one of them. There's a ton of them. Mystery, yeah.
It's Heidi and Cindy.
Thank you. Yep.
Yeah.
So, and one other one for me on favorites is Walt's character Kananga. Now, of course, it's named after an antithesis in a James Bond movie. So mystery. Thank you.
Thank you.
Taco subbed it to mystery. Taco, thank you so very much, man. Really appreciate that. So Kananga was a lawful good dark elf, which came from the fled, was a knight character. He's in the Omega Patrol as well. So we got a bunch of dark elves in this stupidly named group. Sorry, whoever named it. Tim's smiling. They fight over between whether Tim and Alan named that group. So look at that. Yes, absolutely. Order of Yuluk all the way there. So he's a fallen knight. He went to, if anyone ever did Return to Durbanford, there's this drug called Higdine, and he got addicted to it. And he started shacking up with this really skanky bandit named Morelia, and he went into this cult and all. So now he's a fallen knight. He's back to a normal fighter. He went from lawful good to chaotic neutral. So he's an 8th level fighter, and he just is all over the place now because this drug has got his head all messed up. But he's a dark elf, so it fits perfectly. The guy, So it's not like Walt's not playing himself or anything, guys.
Hey, I do want to circle back to a question that
absolutely
Real Taco Turtle was asking, which is, what's the connection between the Giants and the Drow?
Go for it.
From the G series. And so here's the thoughts I have on that. Is the Drow are smarter than the Scarlet Brotherhood, and they don't want to do direct surface action because they're great in the dark, but as soon as the lights come on, they're at a supreme disadvantage, and their magic doesn't do well on the surface. And so if you can get some big dumb giants to go soften up your enemies, that's all to the good. Plus, you got to remember that at least in the original D series, before all this other stuff happened, a Cloudress clan were followers of the Temple of Elemental Evil, and they were out proselytizing. Mm-hmm. You will find that there are hints at Elemental Evil in all 3 of the Giant series. There is a little hidden away place down where the orcs are on the lower levels of the original G1 series that has a temple that's not super well described, but it has the elements of the one that you run into in G3. And so all it is that family knows that they have problems in a direct
weird abandoned temple.
Right. That's a temple of elemental evil. It just isn't active. And not temple, it's a shrine of elemental evil.
Great connection, Brian. Great connection.
Right. So what you're doing with the Giants is they're just the cat's paws for the Drow. They're something to throw at the human lands that are too strong for them to take on themselves. And if you look at the encounter tables in the original World of Greyhawk box set, the Crystal Mists have them in the encounter tables. So they're out there showing up.
Dark Elves.
The Drow are part of the encounter tables if you look in the back of World of Greyhawk box set.
Wow, I know. I'm going to take a look at that. See, right. Brian, I'm telling you, that is a fantastic connection. I did not know anything about that encounter table here. That's awesome, man. That's great information.
Well, the reason was I was actually throwing the entire World of Greyhawk box set into a OneNote piece for myself, and I've been slowly translating all of the encounter tables into actual searchable tables. But more to the point is,
beautiful.
You have this schism within Drow society between elemental evil and the mainline worship of Lolth. And Lolth comes down pretty hard and heavy on people that are not worshiping her. And so, they need to have an exit plan. And, having temples to their god outside of the Drow city is also a survival mechanism for them. That it isn't that the Drow of the city are saying, "Oh, go make those giants do that." That's that particular clan that's doing that, not the entire Drow society.
Yeah, it's the Ilserves clan. It's the Cloudress.
The Ilserves are the ones that they're doing that.
Yep, absolutely.
And now I just have to point out that we have our friend Carlos Lysing.
Oh, Carlos
Yeah,
came
welcome.
on. Well, Carlos came on as Carlos, not as CSL Entertainment. That's why he's not VIP'd. He's VIP'd under CSL Entertainment. Just everyone, please know that. Carlos is on, and we'll see what he has to say too about Dark Elves here in this discussion. But thank you so very much for coming on, Carlos. Really appreciate it. Everyone's looking forward to the third module that you did that we are going to run very shortly. So I can't wait to run that. So, but Brian had some unbelievable insight there that is just deep into Greyhawk.
So just one other side about elemental evil as Gygax conceptualized it, because I've read some interviews with him, it is separate from Tharzadan. Tharzadan is a different god.
Yeah.
And there's actually, he said I can't remember which OF journal it is when he was interviewed. I'll have to look it up. There's actually 3 elemental evil gods. But only one is described. So
Carlos,
and
thanks.
then he never got a chance to kind of expand on that. That was just kind of stuff in his background. So there's a whole thing going on with that. And originally, one of my big complaints about Q1 is it just seemed kind of slapped on, because everything from the G series to the D series is building up to this confrontation, and you're supposed to be able to play the drow off each other, and there's this confrontation between Lulth and the Elsers and supporting clans that worship elemental evil. And that just kind of goes away in Q1. You're suddenly now battling Lulth, which makes no sense.
I agree 100%. And that the weird intertwined, and all, CRCD, our campaign would not be where it is today without CRCD. All the, how you had all those other places off of the plane, so we had a whole adventure pack I did in CRCD that really drove my players crazy. So I'm glad it was.
Yeah. Well, and don't get me wrong, I liked Q1 as a module. I just don't think it made sense in the terms of the whole sweep of the arc. And I thought that the other worlds were an interesting bit, and that was an inspiration for me. And I actually ran some stuff off of those, worlds they never described. You just had the pictures and a brief description, and there wasn't really much meat on that.
No, we had to develop it, which was I like that.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. Yeah, that was kind of like proto Planescape.
True.
Before we knew what that was.
That's true.
And so there's a lot of stuff going on there in terms of Greyhawk and the Drow. There's a lot of organic growth, and then the direction it was going under Gygax completely shifts after 85 because Gygax is no longer in charge, and the Drow now, instead of just being specific to Greyhawk, they're now in the Forgotten Realms, and they go into all these other worlds, and they start getting bent to those worlds stories. And then you get and then we have these different eras of writers for Greyhawk, and they have just different needs, and so they say, I want to use that character, and now suddenly a Cloudra is part of Grisat's delegation with Ayuz. That's Sergeant. Suddenly he's so it's like, it's kind of the complaints I had about how they treated Harvey. It goes kind of all over the map in that regard, because people want to have that connection, but they don't really respect the original history, partly because of what happened to Gygax in there, partly because some of the editing and writing was pretty spotty in certain eras.
No, I agree.
And I can't lay at Malice everything that TSR did. Some of it was just rank incompetence and laziness.
Well, no one knew better back then. Now we have bad examples to fall back on, and that way.
That's right on, Anna.
Yeah. And they're doing a much better job now, kind of putting together in the modern era. They're doing a much better job of looking at the story. They're doing a much better job of that. And so 5th edition has a very interesting development of how the elves split, and what caused that, and you can use it or not. It's up to you, but they have their version of the story. And whatever your version of that story is going to be, use it. In Greyhawk, it was like a much more definitive. There was this falling out between Lolth and the rest of the Seldarine, and she broke off, and she was banished, and she has her own little world. And but I think there's a lot stuff you can draw on from other material to kind of flesh that out, like Anna has done, and certainly as Jay and you guys have done. And so I hope you find inspiration in a lot of different material. And you make it your own. Don't go off of just what we do. Just see that as a springboard.
Absolutely.
And everyone has their own things. Like, for instance, I've been watching the miniseries Chernobyl. That's been like my big main line.
Yeah, I need to get to that one too.
Brutal.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
and
it's just absolutely brutal. But that whole bureaucracy in there. I mean, can you imagine, running D3 and just kind of have that that level of faceless evil that is the bureaucracy happening in that city? And you're trying to get things done, and you're trying to figure out, and people are like, everything's controlled. There's a particular, there's a particular piece that is being said about what's happening, and it may not be reality. And you're going to have to navigate that. There's a lot of interesting things. So look beyond just the source books. Find all kinds of things to inspire.
Chaotic evil city, so it's not that.
Yeah.
Well,
Or rather lawful evil. Everything is the rules, but no one sees the overall.
Tim, you had a point. You had a point you want to make. Was that it? It was chaotic evil, or did you want to make another point?
No. But he said that the Q1 didn't make any sense, and I was just making a joke saying, slaughtering a chaotic evil deity always.
That's true.
Well, but I will say this about chaotic evil is that on a basic level, Drow society works together, right? On some level. I mean, as much as they're stabbing each other in the back,
everyone else,
there has to be some level in which the society works. Otherwise, it's just it's anarchy. And
yeah, but I think it works not because they're cooperating. It works because they're obsessed about their own. They are codependent in their hatred, and they're stuck in this environment. There's not much to flee to. Underdark, you contained into to more kind of there's one big cavern, and we all have to share it, but we hate each other. So they get, it's like family gone bad. They just keep hating each other, not fleeing, so to speak. And so the culture, the way I see it, is dysfunctional to the extreme. And meaning they're all about controlling each other and try to topple each other. That's all it is. And then the reason to go out and raid others is to get weapons and resources and slaves or whatever it is in order to beat the other neighbors.
Don't get me wrong. They are thoroughly evil, and you are not Drow. Yeah. And especially if you're not
a
female Drow. Yeah. You are less than nothing.
Yeah, but I love
but amongst themselves, as dysfunctional as they are, amongst themselves, there is a basic set of order so that they can. Well,
yeah, because it also breeds the interesting thing is that if you are not a really talented individual, whether you're male or female, you would not survive. No. Meaning you can't fend for yourself, you're dead. And I love the fact that in a fantasy world, when I do my fantasy campaign, I always try to take society ideas of utopia one way or the other, good or bad, and simply place them in my fantasy campaigns, because I want society to work differently and in cool, weird, fantastic ways. And Rouse is a perfect example. One of the other ones was I realized that humanoids, they are brutish, clan oriented people. So instead of raising their kids individually, they just put them in a pit and see who gets enough by surviving and could climb out of the pit by eating all the other ones. They are worthy to join the clan, so to speak. And all the clan members, they defend them like it were their own kids. So they go, that way they don't have no childcare. Meaning just put the infant in there.
Childcare.
Whoever
don't need it.
Maturous enough to climb out of the pit, and they're hailed as worthy of joining the clan. It's a completely crazy idea, but I thought it was kind of cool because it means that the humanoids have a completely different way of looking at child rearing and
That
stuff
is
that
all.
might actually work because it makes them brutal, and that's
Yeah.
what it's
Right.
appeal, so to speak. And he
So-
joins them because they sit around now and then when someone might be big enough, and they hail them as coming into the clan and join them because they are worthy of joining the clan. The rest are just fodder for future possible kids.
Right, and so basically, your basic unit is, instead of queen and country, it's clan and country.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right.
And
So
Drow
yeah.
is the house, so to speak.
Right.
That's the
Yeah, and so what you're dealing with is within the house. Yeah, there'll be some backbiting, but you basically support
definitely
each
you
other.
need to be top of the house too. But
Right,
then-
but there's still a basic level of cooperation within that clan.
Yeah. Mhm.
So that you can survive, because as an individual you're going to get toasted.
Yeah, but
and,
also, yeah.
and furthermore, they're not demons, right? They
No,
are
and-
not. They're not
Yeah.
pure expressions of
Yeah.
evil and chaos.
Nope.
Yeah, but the
They screw
Underdark is
around with
also a
demons.
nasty environment in itself. So they need to
Yeah.
cooperate in order to defend their city. There, everything from Underhawks to demons, nasty, whatever, coming in.
Vampires,
And yeah, exactly. So
Mind flayers, aboleths.
exactly. So soon as
Yeah.
there is an outside threat, then they will join in a heartbeat, kill the bastards, and then go back to fighting themselves.
And that's what I wanted to bring this up because Anna said there's only
Yeah.
one city basically. Well, if you look at this D3 map,
Oh,
and
there's plenty.
there's-
in
you
in
have-
Plan East, there are a whole bunch of them named, I think.
okay,
Yeah.
good, because this is the vault, but you have all these other ones over here that are same size that are even completely nondescript on this map. So there's a lot of other, there's room for you to develop your own too, is what I'm saying to the audience. Just on D3 alone, they have undescribed areas. So there's plenty of development we all could,
Yeah.
that anyone
Yeah.
could do, which is so cool. But you're all absolutely correct on I don't know if it's tribalism is the right word, or or just clanism, or
I
Like-
would
Go
go ahead.
Clans, in the old days, they were always fighting each other
It's
until
Scottish. Yeah.
Warner came to the
Yeah.
island.
Mhm.
They all turned on.
Yeah, it's a great discussion point. And I know we bounced around a lot at the times, and I want to say this: we didn't really have to bash FR Forgotten Realms too much because we really didn't talk about it that much. We filled almost the whole night with Greyhawk content, which is cool. Really,
And I feel no need to bash FR.
right?
The thing is FR is its own little beast.
Yep.
Right. And if you love FR, that's awesome. That's fine. The great thing about all that published material for FR is there are some great things you can steal back.
Definitely.
And use for your own devices. Like, for instance, in the Dragon Heist book that came out for Waterdeep,
Yep.
there are these gargantuan statues that they've statted out that I would never use as they are in Greyhawk, but I've got these 2 stone statues in front of the harbor of Hardby, and you can bet that I'm going to have the sorceresses of Hardby animating those things. So what I'm saying is, it's like, Anna showed you those 2 great books from 3rd edition on the Underdark. Those are amazing. In terms of grabbing information from them. The 2nd edition book that Jay has in his hand is a great resource.
Here's a quick example. The spell Acid Bolt in here is fantastic. It's a Drow spell. It's of the Drow of the Underdark. It's page 52. We use it all the time. It's back, it's been so many raids of Drow have taken it, and now they actually have the spell, and the spell's up in the upper surface world. So there's a lot of great stuff in this reference too, like potions of magic resistance too, which
And
are
you
pretty
don't
cool.
you don't even have to use it wholesale like that. You can
Right.
respin it. You can just take it and rename it or appropriate it for other things. It's seek inspiration where you can, and not everything in an FR is going to be to your taste.
Yep.
And it may not be even appropriate to Greyhawk, but a lot of it will be. And at the very least, the stat blocks alone will save you a ton of time. When you're trying to prepare an adventure and not having to stat out, a bazillion drow warriors and wizards and clerics, and giving you some ideas for some NPCs that you can tweak, rename, see them as resources. this tribal piece that we do, where I'm only Greyhawk, I do FR, I do Eberron, it's D&D, folks.
Yeah.
Enjoy it for what it is and use the tools at hand.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. All right. So I know Mark's got to go shortly, and
Sure.
I want to start with Mark on because I know we say 9:30. We'll probably run a little late tonight. Mark, final Dark Elf thought for you. What a point, an idea, or just
Yeah. So, I mean, the biggest thing I think, and I try to instill my players as well as, through our Gabbin events and so forth to pass on from a nugget of wisdom. The game itself, from what we see, is it really is about a game of balance.
Yeah.
You can easily unbalance a game if you only take the one side of the Dark Elves as you do for first and second edition as they're intended to play.
Mm-hmm.
You can easily also offset that by having them encounter lots of sunlight and eliminating those things that make them what it is that they actually are. So I would just school, others that are gleaning information from us, that just try to keep it as balanced as possible, because you could easily run into a situation where if you have all of your players actually wanting to play, like if you came with a whole drow campaign, that was surface level, you could have a whole band of adventurers that would start taking over like Greyhawk or Forgotten Realms or whatever the case is if you're not too careful. So that would be my thing. I love the race itself. I really love. I think it has a lot of worth, especially in the Greyhawk area. A lot of real interesting twists as far as it's concerned. Actually, one of my players plays a drow in the mix. The other thing I think that also goes into play about it, if you are the type of campaign that is more based on very old school, where you have a lot of prejudice and so forth, drow are very much looked to be low-class members of society.
Mm-hmm.
So make sure that you also incorporate that into the mix.
What's this member of society you speak of for drow?
You got to remember, in our campaign, we have the Devits of the world going around.
I am being facetious.
There's not many. There's not many. We can count probably a dozen player characters out of, if we take an average of 60 player characters for each of us, we're looking at 500 characters.
Right.
A dozen. Yeah, that's about it. I mean, just on an average. So, but Mark, there were great points. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Tim, how about you, man? What do you want to take from this?
Oh, well, like Mark was saying, just they're awesome to add in the campaign just because they're culturally complex, the background, and they're on the same side against all the surface dwellers, but they're also against each other, so that's just makes it more complicated and fun to have in the campaign. But then also player characters, just little common sense helps balance them out.
You got.
I've had them as players in campaigns, and they never pushed the balance over. They didn't push it over somewhere.
Right.
It was good role playing, and then.
Tim, very well put. Absolutely. How about you, Anna? What do you want to make a final take on?
Well, first of all, when it comes to the balancing, I think it's also the drows have a lot of enemies. No one likes them, so that kind of can take care of the balance in game, so to speak. Meaning everyone who sees them will go after them like there's some sort of pest coming. So that kind of takes care of some of the issues when balancing. But to me, they're one of the really good tools in the toolbox for a DM, I think, and especially in Greyhawk, since they are originally Greyhawk and then become part of general fantasy, and I think they fit in just like the other races and monsters and stuff that is truly iconic, both Greyhawk and general fantasy. So in that way, I think it's something to be cherished a little bit extra than a lot of the other ones, because it's actually a Greyhawk invention by Gary, or at least by his gaming group originally, and then it's kind of been elevated into general fantasy, and I think we should really cherish that.
I'm going to go to Brian next, but Mark, you got to stick around for like 2 minutes because I got a special surprise. Just stick. All right. So go ahead, Brian.
Got it.
So the way I see Drow is, it as player characters. I think in starting with 4th and 5th edition, they're way more balanced. You have much less difficulty bringing them in if that's what you want to do. Personally, for my Greyhawk campaign, I don't have Drow player characters. That's just a personal choice of mine. But the tools are there if you want to use them. I like having some things just being foils for the player characters, and every time a good foil comes out, that gets assumed into the player character world, and that's just like sometimes I just say, yeah, enough of that. Beyond that is just look for great ways where you can use them in contrast to what's going on around you, because they are very stark in who they are and what they're about, and look for ways to use them because they're the outsider that can show you what the weird things are going on in your own little culture in the D&D world, because they're so opposite of a lot of things. Anyway, that's my piece on it.
Thank you. I have a special surprise for everyone, but first, let me give you my take. D3 is the Bible for us. Use D3. Use the fighters in here. Drow fight with a buckler. They don't fight two-wielded all running around. Right? They fight weapon, shield. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
The Death Lancers are great in here. Okay, cool. Use the features that are in the D3 module as your base for creating your baddies on the Dark Elves, and you'll be fine. Your campaign will be balanced. That's just, whenever I need a reference, this is where I go. It's basically a campaign setting, a little mini campaign setting itself. This is where you get the information on the Dark Elves for us. It's a good place to go. Okay. This is hopefully Will is still on, or did he have his game too? He may have had to leave. This is by special request. Oh, Will is on. This is by special request. I've brought this out one previous time, but introducing Adventures Dirty Deeds, Part 1, The Renaissance Fair Massacre. Okay, so, yes. Oh, hell yeah, he says. Sorry I had to block a couple of you, so I wanted to make it nice and big. This is made by Jeff Moore in 1985, I found out. It was 1985, all right. So here we go. Here's a picture. Look at Mark, the little halfling, and then there Drew is Walt. Everyone knows Walt. There's me, Jay, Jeff Moore, who did this, and there's even Tim in the background, the crazy cleric. Okay, there are pictures. I mean, come on, it's a classic, guys. Yes,
it looks cool.
Yes, absolutely. So I'll go through this fairly quickly, but yes.
The thing is I dwarf all of them right now.
So there's the Renaissance Fair Massacre. This is done by Jeff Moore. And so it goes as this. A band of evil thugs and killers who have stumbled into a time warp in the year 1985 end up at the Renaissance Fair to have a little fun. So basically we end up, because we always used to go to that stupid Renaissance Fair up in upstate New York. Where was it? Tuxedo, New York?
New York.
Tuxedo, New York. And like we always just go, this acting's terrible, right? Oh, wow, what realism. So yes, so basically these adventures go up and they wreak havoc upon normal everyday people, and that's why it's called the Renaissance Fair Massacre. Unfortunately, it was only 3 pages long, and
But the more important thing is we found fish.
Yes, and Mark was always looking for fish and getting yelled at by the rest of the group. So, and here's some of the scenes. There's Tim in the middle bashing some guy's skull in with the boom. I mean, there's all sorts of bad things going on in this cartoon. All right, it's just us being high school crazy.
It kind of reminds me of Phineas Fingers.
It does a little bit. It does.
Yeah.
So they're wreaking havoc in the Renaissance Fair. And there's the 3rd page of the Renaissance Fair Massacre. My favorite scene, I've blown up a couple. My favorite scenes. So here we go. Here's the scene. There's Mark eating his fish, right? And there's Walt in the background drinking, of course. Nothing's new there. Yes, there's scene number 1. Mark chomping right down the fish. Scene number 2, Tim standing next to 2 actors with pots on their heads, just saying, "This sucks." Right. So that's yes. Because, Tim, we're talking about realism today. Even after 40 years, 50 years, we're still talking about realism. And then there's a picture of me, Queen's Procession. You know what that means. And then money, gold, jewels. And then Mark, of course, says fish. And then someone yells, "Shut up, Mark." So there you go. That's our. That's us being high school idiots. Back in the day. This is the Renaissance Fair Massacre. It was by request from last night. What's that?
You showing the picture with your hair out of place?
No, of course I didn't show that one. Yeah. But yes, that's Adventurers Dirty Deeds. I wanted to, for a little fun time there, bring that out for you and say, hey, there. So now it's you all know what we looked like. I look almost the same. No, not really, but a couple announcements. Carlos is on, so I wanted to get this out first. I know, Mark, if you got to roll, it's cool.
No, it's fine. I'll stay on for the announcement.
All right, so Carlos and I are doing a joint DMing session in Gen Con. I do the first 4 hours, hour break. Carlos does the second 4 hours. It's called Horror in the Hools. Carlos said there was only 2 spots left open for it. So if you really want to have me DM part of something right at the table and Carlos do the second part, it's Thursday morning starting at 10 a.m. and it runs all the way through. I know it's a long one, but you're getting Carlos and me. So that's Thursday on the 1st. I think it's August 1st, the Thursday, 10 a.m. it starts, and it'll run through at about 7 p.m. And I'm really looking forward to just meeting Carlos in person and playing with DMing with him. We each have our own style, so each 4 hour period will be a little different, but that's what's so cool about it. And I got the player characters over to Carlos, and Fritz Winchester is one of them. So someone will get to play Fritz out there if they want to. It's not Michael Baton, but Fritz is just second best. So excellent. Yes, Carlos and I are both working our own components, part of it, and Carlos and his wife and CSL Entertainment are planning to publish this module. So this will be my first module that I've ever written or participated in that I ever in 40 years got published. So thank you, Carlos, for that. That will be down the road. Yes.
Thank you, Carlos. Thank you, Amanda.
Yes, absolutely.
Yes,
so
definitely.
Announcement number 1. Now, announcement number 2 is we have a bad. Mark's group is off for tomorrow night. There was an issue, so no Adventures is flat tomorrow night. Sorry, they're going to reschedule it probably for the next Monday. Okay, sorry about that, guys. So our next show will be Thursday night. Our great sponsor, Stratagem, is giving away 3 of these. The Rushing Waters 2D Terrain Pack. It comes with a great handle. Look at that. And it has all different sorts of rivers. This is a great company. I love all the miscellaneous stuff they do. Yeah, great river terrain interlocking. It looks very nice, lays flat, perfect. 3 of these will be going, 2 to subscribers and 1 to a follower. So I'll be giving away 3 of these. If you were to buy this on Amazon, it's $29.99. So you're getting a $30 courtesy Stratagem. This will be at the end of our game on Thursday night. Hopefully we'll finish too. No, I can't zip it back up. All right. So hopefully these come. I only got 1 right now, and I'm supposed to get 3 more. So yes. Oh, that's great, Carlos. I didn't know that. I was the only. I'll be the first writer besides you. That's an honor. I really am. I'm proud to say that. Thank you so very much. I got stacks of paper and books. Haven't published anything. So this is going to be a great honor for me. So now I know the dates got a little messed up, Brian, but it's no big deal. Next, all right, so we do have that Thursday. Next Sunday's talk is going to be a cool one, but I think it's going to be a little difficult to manage, but we may miss some, but it's going to be, oh, thank you very much. This one's going to be called Modules in Classic Modules in Magazines. So we're talking about dragons, dungeons, and white dwarfs, maybe some other places. We're going to talk about, of course, Citadel by the Sea. We're going to talk about the Twofold Talisman. We're going to talk about, what's the one you, Mark, Sword of Justice. We're going to talk about all these old modules that probably the Nazes of the world and all the other people have never heard of. that you
Sail
guys.
by the sea.
Yeah, it's one of our favorites of all time. So we're going to talk about them next week, and we're going to just say, and probably convert them back to 5e real easy if you're playing 5e. Dungeon 100, there's a lot of great stuff all throughout, all of them, and we're going to pick the ones that we've done in our campaign or we like, and we're going to talk about them, and I think that'll be a great show. But the Sunday after that is supposed to be a big one. Hopefully, Brian can come back. It's just going to be called Greyhawk in General. And that'll be our 50th show on a Sunday night. So my gosh, it's been 50. It'll be 50 in 2 weeks. So I've invited all the big names from our Greyhawk Online server, from the future of Greyhawk. Carlos hasn't responded, but I sent it out to him. Carlos, I've invited everyone from that. So Carlos, if you can be on in 2 weeks, hey, we're just going to take questions about Greyhawk all night. We're going to talk about stories. We're just going to BS with each other about our favorite Greyhawk stories, maybe a campaign incident, a character we like, and we're just going to BS the whole night. I think it's going to be a great show. What do you think, guys?
Yeah, absolutely.
Sound good? I mean, just all of us, talking around and shooting the shit about Greyhawk, and that's how we're celebrating our 50th show. But I wanted to invite Alan Grow. I invited Greyhawk Mike. I invited Carlos. Will has said yes, and Anna has said yes, and Brian said yes to the night.
I have to look at what my schedule is, but I probably will be able to come.
It'll be fun. And that's it. We're just going to talk.
You can't resist it, Brian. You just have to be here.
Yeah, that's it.
You have to. Yep.
Hey, the most important one. Did you get Leonard?
No,
Exactly.
no. I'm not allowed. No.
Yep.
All right. I'm not allowed to ask him till July. He said specifically, talk to me again in July.
Well, then we have to do one again in July.
Yes.
Or you have to bring him on and interrogate him, because I would love that show. Yeah.
He said when it gets too hot in the Palm Springs where I live and I can't play dominoes.
It gets too hot there soon, so yeah.
Then I will consider coming on. So we are getting close to having, I guess that's the that's the holy grail, right?
Yes,
for us.
Exactly.
So, and plus, if there's any other people that you would think, Anna, Brian, that you would think, I mean, hey, I'd take Tim Kask, maybe, he'd be a good one and whatever. But for the show in 2 weeks, that's what I'm looking for. All the people who are part of the Greyhawk community and are trying to build Greyhawk back. Christoph has been invited too and hasn't responded either. So I'm just saying, I'm putting it out there.
He's busy skydiving right now.
At night. So, but that's what's going on. That's what's going on with us, and so we got giveaways next 2 Thursdays, because the Thursday after next is Miniature Building Authority's big giveaway quarterly, $75 gift certificate for subs and a $25 for followers, and that's for any merchandise in the Miniature Building Authority store. And that's they were our first sponsors, and I've been using them since 2001 when the company was formed. So. It's a fun time out here, as Brian said and Anna said, and everyone's having a blast. I'm so happy, and I'm going to get to tell the story finally Wednesday night. I want everyone who's on here tonight, Wednesday night, we're going to basically swarm Anna's show. Go ahead, Anna, tell us what's going on.
Well, yeah, me and Mike Mortel and Bridges, we will have a new season starting on Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern on the Greyhawk channel. That will be Legends and Lore Season 3. And so we will start out big by having Jay coming on. So we have to interrogate him about his campaign and stuff like that. So so that will be the first show of the season. Yep.
I cannot wait for this. I finally get to tell the story of how some of the inner people know what really set me off as to get going on this path, getting out of the shadows. And I'm going to tell that story because Greyhawk Mike is very vital to what happened. Because if it wasn't for him, I don't know. And this is it's weird how it started, but it wasn't for his post. I don't know if I would have been spurned on to actually get back into the community for the first time ever in stream and do all that we're doing now. So I'm looking forward to that. So it's a busy week. So we all need to tune into that, because I want to also make that the largest viewing audience the Greyhawk channel's ever had. What do you think, guys? Think we can do it? I think we can. I think we can get over 100. I think we can. So I'm looking forward to doing that on Wednesday, and then our game's Thursday. Sorry, no Monday game tomorrow night. So anyone with a final tidbit in closing here, It was a fantastic show again. The
Yeah.
2 hours fly by, you know, they fly right by, and that's what's so great. It goes by quickly, and you know, I just love what I'm doing here now. It's been a blast. I can't wait for Gen Con to come and head out there and play that. But like I said, my game is still going on, and you know, Thursday night, I look forward to Thursday nights when they come around every week, man. So, anything in closing?
Well, thank you for having us.
Oh, of course,
Yep.
of course.
Exactly.
Of course. Thank you, audience. This was a fantastic audience tonight. We
Yep.
had a huge raid come in. Thank you all for sticking around. Thank you, Taco, for the really appreciate for the gift subs. Thank you for all the new followers. It's just been a fantastic couple. Last couple months. I'd say the last 6 months have been unbelievable, and we're just going to keep on pumping out our content. You know, we do things a weird, 1E, 2E, old school with the tabletop style. It's not the norm on Twitch. We're not the normal player. But we play our style, and we're not going to change it. That's where we play, and we're going to keep on doing it. And there are a lot of people who it's not for them, but there's people who it is for. So it's cool. And that's the great thing about D&D. You can play however you want. You can play the 5e style. You can play 3, you can even, 3.5, Pathfinder, it doesn't matter. That's the great thing about the game. So, all right, guys, thanks. I'm going to hit my stratagem checkout first here because I didn't do them on the intro. So I'll hit them up first. Thank you all. And I'll see you. I guess it'll be Thursday now. No, it'll be Wednesday. It'll be Wednesday on the Grey Hawk channel because Mark's in. I'll take it off the events. So talk to you all soon. Thank you. See yous.
Thank you.
Nice, guys. Now we can talk over everything. I know Mark had to go. Oh, Mal, that's loud. Oh, that's why. There you go. I didn't have it turned down. That was awesome, guys. Thanks.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
You.
Well, glad I can contribute.
Yeah, you see, Brian, you were a little all
Definitely.
worried out. What am I going to talk about? With I know what come. I mean, you made connections that none of us. I would have never.
Yes, you got some really cool connections in there. That was awesome. Yeah.
Like you have a degree.
Yeah. Exactly.
History major.
Yeah. See?
I like to crawl through things, and figure it out. And I like making connections with things. And that's great for doing research, but then I had to turn that off and actually go and play.
Yeah, it's true because you don't want to turn into a grog nerd, right?
I'm trying not to. I mean, I have my get off my lawn moments. It's inevitable. That something will come along and you're like, really? And just like.
Oh, that ad says Monday evening it was canceled. See you Wednesday evening, guys.
Yeah.
Sprocket, we're a Grogner. That's okay, Sprocket. You're allowed. You're allowed. So.
I just don't see I don't see the profit in groaning about things.
Yeah. But
I try to be much more upbeat. Like, I want people to play. I love what you guys are doing, and I love the things I've done and have been doing. I love what Anna does. I mean, we all have our little things. I even love Carlos.
Oh, Carlos is awesome, both as a person
I know.
and as a creative. Fantastic.
Oh yeah, it's like I'm not in competition with any of you guys.
No, me
It's
neither. It's like I draw inspiration from it, and it kind of works both ways. Yeah.
I love talking with you. Just whenever we get a chance to do our chats.
Yep.
You say something. Oh, that's interesting. I get to think about that for a little while. Hopefully, it inspired you a few times.
Oh, definitely. Yeah.
Yeah. No, and Jay, it's great to see what you're doing because, like you said, it's kind of unique, and that's good because not everything is going to be Critical Role or what all these other people. It's not Dice Camera Action. There's all these different ways you can play the game that have different emphases, and